Selectman Roth.
Jens Bergen.
Tad Redwood, planner.
Okay, so, and I would like to have a motion to approve the agenda.
Let's read the agenda first.
I read it, so I'm waiting
You
for you
did.
guys.
I
Yes.
thought it was right on the mark, one, with one typo. In item one, on new applications, it would be completeness.
On new applications. Oh, okay. There's a typo.
On it.
Yeah.
You guys can, this is English stuff.
Okay.
Okay, completeness.
That is, power your wrists.
I think, I don't know if they're done reading the, are you guys
Yep.
done?
We're done.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
A motion we approve the agenda.
Yeah.
Marty seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. So, public comment. So, for anyone who has anything to say that, about a matter that is not on the agenda, now's your time to speak, or forever hold your peace, at least until the next meeting. Anything? I opened the public comment at 7:08, and we're closing it at 7:09. Okay, moving right along. Approval of the minutes. So, have you all had a chance to approve the minutes, or to read the minutes?
Yes.
Are there any changes, comments?
We're talking about the September 12th minutes first.
Yes, minutes of September 12th.
I had no suggested changes.
Me neither.
Marty?
I'm just trying to see, did we make a comment here, I'm trying to look for it, is that we were not sending a recommendation? Yeah. Because I thought we stated that in our discussion,
Recommendation on the
being,
citizen petition?
yeah, not, to the Board of Selectmen for our comment.
Yeah, it's at the top of the back of the first page.
Okay.
Referral to the Board of
Yes.
Selectmen, it's item 5.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
I make a motion we approve the minutes of September 12th.
Second?
all
Okay.
those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nope.
The motion passes. Moving right along to the minutes of October 10th.
I had two items on that.
Okay, Jens?
Just on the, on page 2. In the second indented paragraph, I think we can strike the indefinite article there, the word A.
Okay,
And in the findings of fact, in item 2, findings of fact relating to specially designed stables,
okay,
when we get over onto conformance with conditional use criteria, and we're going down through the motion items,
what page are you on?
on page 4,
Okay,
on the second motion listed, it's indicated that Tom
Yes,
motions and seconded
I'll
his
double
own
check
motion.
that one.
So I'm pretty sure that was either me or it was Roger that seconded that motion.
well, we had some creative
931.
meeting rules
I can-
going on that night anyway.
It was Mr. Moore and Mr. McGinn.
Or Jens.
Or, I have it written as,
Roger?
yep,
Okay,
That would be it then.
so would you make that one article change? Okay, and you like the other change? Any other comments? Okay, I need a motion.
Yay.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yay.
Okay, minutes are approved.
We should be pretty much caught up now, aren't we?
I believe so. Okay, public hearing. So the first item on the agenda is the Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve.
All set? Madam Chair, Rick Light from Light Environmental Design, and Joe Conley, he sends his regards, but he had a conflict tonight, so, running solo. The item that's up for a public hearing tonight is, I sort of consider an administrative change to the plans. There are three items that we're requesting from the board. One is the acquisition of a 1 acre parcel over here in phase 4A. We acquired 1 acre of land from the Maurices, the neighboring parcel, because honestly, we put a building too close to the property line and had to make amends. And so we're coming for a formal amendment to the subdivision plan, which changes the lot area from, I got it wrong last time, 294.3 to 295.3 acres. And as we discussed at the last meeting, there are several other sort of administrative things that we thought we would just collectively bring up, the housekeeping items to bring up to snuff with the board. One is in phase 4B. We have the original layout of the units we've adjusted and tweaked a little bit as we discussed at the last meeting to deal with the character of the land. And we moved one unit, unit 186, moved it across the street to make more room. So 100-foot view, no change, but in the detailed view, we want to make sure that the record plan, clearly records those minor changes. And the third item is we have added, due to our communications consultant's request, we put a small utility building on phase 4A, Patriots Way we call it right here. So those are the three minor changes that we're asking for approval for from the board.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? I'm sorry? Oh, anyone from the public have any questions? Okay, I think we're good.
We should close the public hearing what time?
7:14.
14.
So
Thank you.
Tad, do you need any more paperwork from them, or is the explanation sufficient? Or what do you need for them to?
I think we can bring that up when we get back.
Well, we're doing the pending application.
We cease from the public hearing.
All righty.
Thank you.
Kimball Gravel Pit, on to the next public hearing. Sorry for my ignorance.
sorry.
7:15, open the public hearing.
Good evening, my name is Chip Late, I'm the Aggregate Resource Manager for Sargent Corporation. Here to request renewal of conditional use permit for the Kimball Gravel Pit. This is on Route 111, tax map 20, lot 7. It's in an R4 district, currently owned by John and Diana Kimball. It's a 70-acre parcel with a 5-acre conditional use pit that we've permitted since 1991. We've been back here every 3 years on a regular basis, hopefully on a timely manner. Here to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, well, we're gonna close the public hearing at 7:16 and a half. So, all right, let's open the third item, Linda Zook and Lady Slipper Lane. The time is 7:17. Linda, do you have anything, Paul?
Oh,
Yes, good evening, I'm here this evening to represent Linda, and Chris Colby's also here. representing the client for wetlands. I don't believe there's anyone here from the public, so I'm not even gonna bother showing the plan unless the planning wants to see it, but obviously you had a sidewalk, and here to get a reduction under the special exemption rule, for the buffer from 50 feet to 25 feet in order to, construct a driveway and residence on the property, so if anybody else wants to see the plan, I'll be glad to put it up.
Does anyone want to see the plan, or do they have any comment? Okay, well, we're gonna close the public hearing at 7:18. Moving right along. Moving right along is my mantra. Even though I don't always get Robert's rules of order correct. Okay, pending applications. Oak Ridge Terrace, a major preliminary subdivision application. Proposal to develop a 14-acre or 14-lot subdivision on a 66.9-acre parcel identified as tax map 17, lot 15A, at the intersection of South Skillings Road and Limerick Road in the R2 and Shoreland zones. Walter Woods is the property owner, and Jason Bafiades?
Bingo.
Is that correct? Jeez. Brownie points for that. Is the applicant of record?
Good evening, members of the board. Jason Vafiatis, as previously mentioned, for Atlantic Resource Consultants, here tonight on behalf of Walter Woods. I have Jim Logan with me, who's done the natural resource mapping with this project. We came here tonight thinking that we were on a public hearing, but I think we got left off that part, don't know why, but maybe for a good reason. I don't know. Tad, do you wanna talk about the shoreline zone issues, or?
Yeah, they've received notes,
Yep.
before we did that, as the board knows. Our consulting engineers reviewed, as you recall, the applicant had submitted a stormwater, program, stormwater management plan, that had been peer reviewed by, Woodard and Kern, our engineers on this project. They had a number of concerns and issues. They sent that to Atlantic Resource Consultants, and Atlantic Resource Consultants responded with changes, and the details that were requested by Woodard and Kern, those were in your packet, and the letter that Jason Baviatis had penned regarding that was also in your packet. His comments I was able to send to Woodard and Kern, and I received back Tuesday. And there were some questions on, there's some debate on the watershed and the impact of development. And the board will recall that one of the things that you had asked the applicant for were building locations and driveway locations, mainly for the purposes of determining how much water impact or what kind of impact would occur to the road and to the drainage systems as a result of that. I think Jason will be discussing that as part of his presentation. There actually, when you really look at it, there's only 2 lots that are actually impacting that filter bed, and they are lots 14 and 13. And lots 12 is actually parallel, the driveways would be parallel to the road, so they're not really gonna be a cluster, except for.
So that's what was confusing me about the comment. The drainage pond has been designed to take all lot development from the 2 lots that actually lead into it. The rest of them actually shed, the road's kind of on like a high point, other than the first 2 lots on the right coming in. All the other lots shed off into the open space via overland flow. So I think he just wasn't picking up on the fact that the drainage calculations had been provided for the 2 lots getting into the storm drain system. So we get comments so late that it's kinda hard for me to call them up and coordinate that. So as far as we're concerned, and I'm Tad, I hate to put you on the spot and agree with me, but I think it does meet the stormwater ordinance for subdivision based on the fact that all lots that do get into the central drainage system are accounted for in the calculations and in the treatment pond.
I'd like to know something, actually.
Okay.
So you're gonna put in a 15-inch culvert in each one of the driveways?
Yep, that's just standard.
And you say that it will be sufficient to handle the runoff, stormwater, whatever. So do we know what the maximum is that those 15-inch culverts are going to be able to handle?
Yeah.
And do we know that the runoff is not
Yep.
going to exceed the capacity of a 15-inch culvert?
Yeah, so the culvert is really for the roadside ditch, as you said, all the lots tend to drain away from the road. So where there's a need for a culvert is where there's a roadside ditch coming down. The 15-inch culvert, in my 16 years of doing engineering design, I think this is the first town that's asked for driveway culvert sizing calculations. A standard 15-inch will carry probably an acre and a half of runoff. So I don't mind providing you a simple Manning's flow calculation and an area calculation for a 15-inch culvert. But, it's not that hard to do. It's just, a lot of towns use 12-inch culverts for driveways, so 15-inch culvert can take a lot of water.
Okay, I
Well,
think
13
you
seems
should
best.
put it in there, just, so we know we have some specifics, but,
I think the concern was how much of the watershed is going to be drained down into that location.
Right,
The board
yeah.
was concerned that
Yeah.
they would know that the cumulative effect would
Yeah,
not.
but it's only 2 lots that actually drain towards the road.
Yeah.
And it's starting, you said that's 13 and 14?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so will those be the only two with culverts?
14.
Okay.
yeah, I would imagine, I mean, you never put a driveway culvert unless you need to, so. And part of the reason is, as I talk about the shoreline zone issue that was brought up this week, some of the lots are getting smaller and smaller, so, when you have a 2-acre lot, we don't know where the driveway entrance is gonna be, I mean, there's no curb, so it doesn't hurt to let the builder put the driveway, each house builder that comes along is gonna say, oh no, I'm gonna put the house over here, here's where the well, there's the septic. What I handed out today, the second and third pages, if you wanna go through this, I scrubbed in houses and driveways for every lot, just so you can see that, yes indeed, that they do sort of lay out well and they are buildable. I'll put that into CAD, and submit it for the record in the next submission, just so you have it, and I'll turn the contours on actually to make it a little easier. It all works, it gets a little tight around I think it's lot 5, if you go to the second page. I wanna talk about the different colors, so, in Tad's review of this with the code enforcement officer, I think this happened 2 days ago, Tad?
Yep.
There is is it a discrepancy or a conflict?
No, what it is there is the code enforcement officer notified me that these lots do not meet shoreline zone requirements for shore frontage, which was 200 feet for a residential lot. And I had disputed that and said that is superseded by our cluster provisions, and he said it's mandatory shoreline zoning, it does not supersede it. So we spoke to the state, we spoke to the shoreline zoning officer at the state level, and he had indicated that it did apply. And in further discussions, we had a discussion with Mr. Logan of Longview this morning, rather extensive discussions of that.
Long
Went
discussion.
over chapter 1000, and noted that the definition for a shore frontage refers to wetlands or water bodies.
It's inclusive, and my take on it, and my experience of over 30 years of consulting with shoreline zoning and DEP, we have an ex-DEP staffer in the audience here, is that the shore frontage requirement for the creation of new lots was always intended and based on the Great Ponds Act in the state of Maine, where there is shore frontage, water frontage, a river segment in your town like the Kennebunk River will apply. It typically, in my experience, has never been applied to streams. We have streams, or we have lots with so-called wetland frontage that now we're gonna treat as though it's a shoreline zone and apply the body of law to it that is shoreline zoning. The real hiccup in your ordinance came with the use table for stream protection. So So now we're not even in a shoreline zone anymore, we have stream protection. We have the stream that creates the 75-foot shoreline zone, everybody knows. Doesn't make a 250-foot shoreline zone that's similar to great ponds and bodies of water in excess of 10 acres, or rivers that drain more than 25 square, miles or acres. Big water bodies. I've never heard of a single occasion in a subdivision anywhere I've worked on in the state of Maine that had to have 200 feet on a brook, because there was a brook running through the property. Even one that's shown on a shoreline zone map in a town like Arundel. That's new, I've never heard of that before. Further, your ordinance refers to a wetland frontage, so that on certain lots that you wanna create in Arundel, you have to consider the length of the wetland line. And do you have enough wetland frontage on your lot?
And I would tell you, Jim, that comes right out of 1,000.
And we checked, and
So,
it is the guidance that
It's
the
right
town
out of there,
provided,
so
but
the
I'm
question
telling
is,
you,
we got a
I
hiccup of
don't
1,000
think
as
it's the
well.
way the town wants your business.
I don't think it does. The point is that we've got a hiccup with
Right.
1,000 with the
It needs to
state
be recognized.
regulations. And we have a hiccup in the town one too, so we have two hiccups here at the state and the local level. And the objective here is how to get around this until we can fix that hiccup. And I don't wanna petition the state necessarily, I think we need to handle it on a local level.
Well, I think it has to do with
And then
the
deal with the state as well.
use table predominantly, as I said.
No, the use table comes from 1,000, that's the problem.
I think that there's more discussion with the state and the guidance.
I
that
think
they
there needs to be
provide.
more discussion with the state on that, because it does.
By the way,
create-
your commercial lots, we reviewed this doesn't apply to this, but your new commercial lots, they need 300 feet of wetland frontage or stream frontage to be a new lot. So it's pretty counterintuitive to an area you folks might have identified as a commercial zone for commercial uses. I'm only saying, how this might apply to other lots.
So, anyway, the fix is, as you'll see there's a gray line with the little red dots connecting. I can reduce the size of the lots to bring them out of any area that's covered in the shoreline zone. So we eliminate that requirement by creating a lot that does not have frontage on a wetland associated with a stream or a wetland greater than 2 acres. So that's, it all works, all the math works, I did the calcs. Doesn't change the road design, doesn't change absolutely anything else in the application, just the backs of the lot lines coming in. Lot 3 has plenty of frontage, so that lot does not, their lot line does not need to be changed, because a portion of that will be in the shoreline zone. That's the long lot along Lower Lane at the corner of the new road where it comes in.
One other thing I would make a mention of too is that you are in a cluster subdivision. You do not have to use the standard lot setbacks. that
Yep, we
require.
can reduce those.
You
I'll
can
probably
reduce
reduce the
those.
front setbacks,
Probably should.
just to give them a little bigger building envelope.
Right.
Yep.
And what you do is you make that proposal to the planning board has a problem with it, they'll let you know, but that's often why they do like to see that in a cluster subdivision where buildings can be, or where they can't be.
We were trying to keep them somewhat, I mean, the nature, the character of the neighborhood is somewhat, you got decent space, wooded space between you and the next neighbor. We were trying to keep them somewhat secluded, albeit,
We got 25-foot setbacks there.
yeah.
So you have
we'll
50
probably
feet
keep the
between.
sides. But we'll reduce the front,
Fronts.
if I'd probably reduce it to 30 feet anyway, grab an extra 20 feet of building envelope. But you'll see, we're good, all lots can get to a well, all lots have the septic system. If we wanna discuss, we've moved the septic systems around a number of times. We did have them all up on the front, away from the wetlands. Then Tad noted that, they would all sort of be pump systems, so then we moved them all down to the wetlands. And that's been a constant source of discussion, but I prefer to keep it simple, keep them down where they can gravity flow. A lot of those lots on the bottom side of the road will have walkout basements, they'll probably have a bathroom in there, so we wanna keep them nice and long. And Jim can talk about, typically, as long as you meet all the setback from a wetland, from the state, wastewater disposal guidelines, the wetlands kinda need those nitrates to sort of feed on. Wetlands are a great sort of filter, for that type of stuff, so. You have anything to add to that, Jim?
Wetlands are considered to be treatment sinks, if you will, provided you don't have an open conduit that's a stream channel within that wetland. That's the other, the septic design has to comply with every other set of rules. If these are forested wetlands that are not, wetlands of special significance, they don't have 75-foot offsets, and to comply fully, we need to meet the standard of the main plumbing code and make sure that the fill extensions and the system itself is entirely out of the wetland and still have adequate treatment on the land. We get the remaining treatment of nitrates within the uppermost fringes of the wetlands. We have to set back from the conduits that are streams, water bodies, water courses. So it's common, accepted. There's some argument as to whether or not it's appropriate or not, but again, we've not had any troubles, and provided, again, we meet all the standards otherwise of the setback requirements. The proximity to the wetland has not typically been an issue. What would be more an issue if fill extensions had to go into the wetlands and we had minor fills from the construction of the systems into the wetlands. That we don't wanna have happen.
But we're obviously well away from that, because the wetland setback in the shoreline zone keeps us quite far out of the way.
So a couple of more questions, since I have time to read some of this stuff, sitting on the plane. And, so we resolved the issue with the cisterns, you only need one as
Yep.
opposed to two.
Yep.
And we resolved the issue with the two lots that have been broken off,
Yes.
Ted. So they're now
Yep.
included in the subdivision, and, all the same work has been done for them as been done for the rest of the lots.
Yep, you can see there's a second page, a third, this page number 2 actually shows the two front lots with the same sort of design. And I'll lead you back to the first page a little bit. I color coded it because it's a lot easier to make sense. It's just hard unless I do color plans, which I hate, because then if someone gets a black and white version of a color plan, it doesn't relay the information it's supposed to. I can play with maybe different line types, but your shoreline zoning ordinance has a variable setbacks to variable size wetlands, and a number of other things, and I thought this is such a large property that it's hard to show everything at a decent scale, especially if you're looking for sort of lot development plans. It's hard to get that all on one page. So the front page sort of shows you on this property, the whole assortment of different setbacks that we have, it's color coded, so there are no contiguous we all know the 100-foot by 100-foot rule of a wetland, next down to 100 feet for a length, next down to narrower than 100 feet for a length of 100 feet. So basically you put a 100-foot by 100-foot square on, and everywhere you blot out a wetland connection, those wetlands are, under the shoreline zone, considered disconnected. So you can see where we've gone through and done this, you can do it yourself with a piece of paper, a little square on a piece of paper, but we do have two separated wetlands that are 2 to 10 acres, and those do require a 100-foot setback, although Tad tells me that it's 50 foot if it's wooded. So we can grab a little room back there. The first one in the front is primarily the largest one, I think that one was like 8 acres. That's all in the open space, aside from a small portion of the driveway that'll go through to lot 2. But that wetland is actually not, that is in the 100 by 100 necking down area. And then we're jigging the lot lines a little bit on lot 1, which you'll see in page 2 of what I handed you. We can stay completely out of the setback for the wetland number, that primary wetland number, so we're all good there. The other large wetland is sort of up where the convergence of the stream that crosses Laura Lane, and there's a small stream segment that connects the wetlands sort of middle of the property down into the big sort of the real wide wetland plain. That's that second 2 to 10 acre. That is the portion of the site in the middle, and that one does have the associated setback for the 2 to 10 acre wetland. The stream setbacks are shown as offset from the edge of the wetland. The stream goes through it. Those are the blue lines. And the green ones are the wetlands that they're bigger than 100 by 100, but they are less than 2 acres in total size. So those would have no setbacks and would not be under the shoreline zoning ordinance as defined by ordinances. And for giggles, I put the 250-foot zone of influence on the vernal pool, which you see on the plans as well, just so you can see how that spreads out across the site. 250 foot. Anything to add here?
Pat, I might just point out that the wetland that he just referred to with the stream, and he made the reference to the offset being based on the wetland next to the stream, that is a wetland that is associated with the stream.
Right.
Our earlier conversation distinguished between wetlands associated with versus those side sloping wetlands that are not consistent with a stream, floodplain, or a bigger wide open, 2 to 10 acre wetland like the larger ones.
Yeah, and that's a 75-foot setback for the
Correct.
stream.
Correct.
And the only question is, where's the floodplain on this? I see it here, but I don't see it on the other map.
Yep, no, I can color that, the line is in there. It, actually, the floodplain sort of follows the setback line, that's why it gets
Looks like-
confusing.
Right, it's similar.
So it's, I think it's this thing, isn't it, the floodplain, where the little arrow is going? It says
Nope.
floodplain?
Oh, yeah, no, that's off the property. Over here, the floodplain tends to follow this line
Oh,
here.
I
can
got it,
show- yeah.
okay.
It's actually, it's,
Floodplain.
it's this dash line here.
Ted, the other point of clarification, I think that I'd like to make, Jason brought to my attention that I believe your town map shows a stream corridor down through a segment of wetland that we did not identify any stream on.
Right,
And we wanna make that distinction,
okay.
because it was affecting negatively your review.
But I believe we have to request a,
Some kind of
Shoreline
map
zone
correction.
map
We have to do a
realignment.
map correction on that. I'm not sure, it's not the one, I don't think it's the one that's going off to the northwest here. I think it's-
We had the
I think
sense
it's
you were
this one.
talking about, that is, and he's got that showing. We had the impression you were talking about a channel showing
I
through
wasn't
here.
sure if there was a channel here.
None. I've got GPS shots all the way through here that say surface water runoff. It isn't until you get way down here,
Yeah,
and that's the waterfall location I
Right.
referred to.
right.
It's a pretty waterfall out there.
I think it's actually this one, from my look at this, now, I'm not sure my map shows this, but I think it's going
You're
this
correct.
way.
You're correct. That's the big one on your map.
Yeah.
so sorry to throw a lot of new information at you last minute, but to be honest with you, it was new to me, last night around 4, so,
Late breaking.
we tried to get you caught up to us as soon as we could.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened today.
So what do you need, Tad, from Jason and,
Well, I think we need to put this all on the plan. You have amendments you're gonna be making to the boundaries, right?
Yep, we'll
You
amend
show
the
them
map.
that the 215s will do fine, and that it works with the settlement basin, or the filter basin. Redefine where these wetland boundaries are. I'm gonna have to just go up and verify, that stream. Keep everybody happy. I'll go out there, you wanna come?
Yeah, you want, I can walk you right to the place.
Yeah.
You'd be bumbling a little bit, maybe otherwise.
I don't know, I can follow.
It's a pretty good map.
I'm pretty good with the roads.
Pretty good map. It's back on the lot a little ways to get there is all.
Yeah,
Let's just say maybe I could find an easier path for you to get there. How's that?
okay. You're welcome to come. Dad, happy to
Let me
come.
know when you wanna do that.
Soon.
and the hiccups with the state? You two can figure out a,
Well, I think that's a long range, I think we've solved it.
Yeah, we solved it for
By
this particular
changing
project,
the-
yeah.
But
The
That's why-
reconfigurations are significant for future
I
development.
shudder to think about other lots that are out there.
Oh,
More projects that have already come to
Well,
life.
I've got Route 1 to worry about too, I've got my main business areas I'm very concerned about, so.
so you're good in that direction?
Yeah.
We may have- we may have something
Because you've
very
adjusted the
important
lots,
that has to
yeah.
dealt with.
And if, with the reduced setback, a couple of lots I was concerned about, because they were getting kinda small. You know, that does affect marketability a little bit, but
Yeah.
with this discussion here, I think I can gain back.
So that's one of the things in the chart.
Yeah.
You can also even get a reduction. Ask Linda, she's gonna be asking for that.
You wanna follow up, then we'll talk about the development.
Well, did we put the vernal pool item to rest last time? You happy with that? That it only refers to the influence of area that is uncleared. That's what it is, so
if you're clearing, if you're dropping trees within the 250-foot zone of influence, you do need a permit by rule for the DEP. We are not planning on doing
No,
that
but
at any.
wait a minute, he's jumping ahead now. We would need a permit by rule if it was determined to be significant, all right? Or if it was determined to be naturally occurring and a real vernal pool. I'd like to ask Michael again, I asked him in his driveway about 3 weeks ago when I was there, did he submit his information that he brought to you as a significant vernal pool to the state? Have you submitted your?
Not yet, I honestly haven't had time. But
It's not a lot of time to stuff it in the, you have a report, you could stuff it in an envelope and send it to Jason Chappie, it's not a time consuming thing. My point to the board is if this gentleman would like you to consider it and have it onto the public record, and this gentleman ought to be backing it up by sending it to the state and having it recognized by the state, so that it affects his lot every bit as much as it might affect our lot or our project, okay? What I'm viewing here is a strategy that he's using to call into question by throwing everything he can at a project that he doesn't want to see there, to see what'll land, to see how it'll affect this project. He doesn't seem to want to submit it, in that it might affect his property. That aside, we've looked at this very carefully. I walked past this habitat, about 10% of this so-called vernal pool is on our side of the property line. Not even enough of the area to count as significant if you were counting our portion only. We gotta look at the whole totality of the thing. However, we have one site on all of our project that is affected possibly by that vernal pool, in its worst case, most significant way. That building site that we're referring to, what lot is that? Lot one?
Oh,
No,
it's
that's
one? It's
Lot one, the built,
Well, actually, no, it's out of lot one.
It's out of lot one, it's lot
okay,
two.
it's a little bit in lot two. But the point is, on lot two, where the house needs to be, it's already cleared far afield. No additional clearing needs to take place. So the presence of this vernal pool, no matter how significant it might want to be by the DEP standards, and by the way, it has to be naturally occurring. I'm not sure it's even that. However, this project can't be affected negatively by that pool. But I would suggest, again, if the gentleman would like to play it here as a wild card, he ought to play it with the state and send the form into the IF&W so that it's recorded. Because you folks would like us to pay attention to it and design a project and adhere to it. I'd like to suggest he ought to be held to the same standard.
Well, and the issue with that is that we have stamped plans that are showing it as a significant vernal pool, which right now would be false information.
It's not on the state website, hasn't been recorded at the state level. It is technically his information to retain if he wants. Doesn't have to record it with the state if he doesn't want. I guess we could look at our requirement, because I believe the report was shared with me, his report. Perhaps I could send it into the state. But again, I'm even doubting if it's a naturally occurring thing. According to DEP, by definition, it has to be naturally occurring. So all that said, no matter what it is, over there mostly on his side of the property line, it can't affect our project, the way it's laid out. We have somewhere in the documentation, I think Tad might have seen this, an email from Jay Clement of the Army Corps of Engineers that point blank says that there are no wetland impacts anywhere in your project. You don't get Corps review, so the Corps and its 750 feet doesn't apply. That's in writing. So in terms of this vernal pool, what may have been a concern earlier, I don't see how it could be a concern to the board, because it can't negatively affect our project.
What are the objective factors that help identify whether it's naturally occurring or not?
Well, that's interesting, because I think the individual that came down to study his vernal pool certainly was not a soil scientist by trade. But I went to the thing, the portion of it I had a view of from our side of the property line, there's a culvert pipe in the bottom of that thing. And the culvert pipe, which exits the so-called depression, it isn't down at the bottom of the depression, it's hanging. It's up about 1.5 feet or a foot from the bottom of the depression. And in fact, that's impounding water in that location. This is a farm field, it's an agricultural field. And it's, if you look at the plan, it's pretty lean. Right? Look at an area that photo, it even lays out more linear beyond just the cattails and the depression. That culvert pipe, I believe, was probably put in there by Rodney Davis, the old farmer, before this gentleman bought it. It's a modern culvert pipe, it's plastic, not a steel one, so it's been changed recently. And it's where the farm machinery was driving around this pool, this cattail area, to get into the field that he no longer owns, back when it was all one property. So, immediately as a soil scientist, I'm thinking, well, this has been modified, it's been changed. You know, it's a linear feature in a farm field, it's grown into cattails, it hasn't been maintained and cut, the cattails aren't removed from it. And the culvert that was installed, I believe, was just probably put into pond, and it impounds water, makes a little pond. That's why the cattails are growing in it. And certainly it had a ton of egg masses, because we can find egg masses in drainage ditches everywhere.
So let me just stop you, for a second, or maybe two. So we know it's a vernal pool. Let's just review the bidding here for a second. We know it's a vernal pool, but we haven't confirmed that it's a significant vernal pool. Is that correct?
He has
No, so far, he has a report that says it's a significant vernal pool.
Correct.
You've done your own due diligence, that doesn't find it to be one. A significant vernal pool, not that it's not a vernal pool. And so, we haven't had anybody from any agency come out and put a title on what this pool is.
My point to this board today is that it doesn't matter to us. We don't need to prove it either way. You can leave it on the plan as a significant
I can show it as a
vernal pool.
potential significant vernal pool.
And we've
Because you
treated
have the
it,
250-foot
and
setback.
we've treated it as a significant vernal pool with this project. But I'm doubting whether it is that as a professional. However, he has a report that says it is that.
Well, so let me just back up a second. If you have all the setbacks in place and you're treating it so you're covered, whether it's a significant vernal pool or not, why are we having this discussion?
Yeah, I don't think it's.
For your edification.
Yes, I think you edified us once before,
Okay.
and so I
that's-
think we're
then
good.
Then we are
So-
good. Then I've
Oops,
done my
don't fall
job.
over.
Then I've done- then I've done my
So,
Then let me stop myself.
Marty,
Yes,
go right
question.
ahead.
As you were saying, where that culvert has been replaced, if it was
Sorry.
any lower, drainage would be increased so that it would drain more off? Is that the way I'm understanding it?
More of the water would leave the pool, or the ponded area, yes.
So actually, is that a leaving for the vernal pool, or is that for the pond itself? Is there a pond there?
No,
I didn't know if it was formerly for agricultural,
No, you-
a pond turnaround for,
Marty,
Watering.
you raised a great question, Marty. I actually looked at old air photos to see if I had the little W that you sometimes see on an agricultural piece that shows where the water body was, a cattle wallow, if you will, place where the cattle put their and had to drink the water. This is not clearly enough like that, because it hasn't been maintained like that. So that's why it has the specter of a wetland, possibly vernal pool habitat.
But the bottom line is,
it
Jason's
doesn't
taken
affect
that,
it now.
right, Jason's taken it into consideration, he's got a 250-foot,
Yes.
so he's covered one, whether it is or it isn't.
Plan A and Plan B and
That's
Plan
right,
C.
and even the unknown.
I think what Jim was trying to get to is that because it was raised as an issue, it potentially could impact the extent to which this project is developable. Now, we've worked around that, but it does, to show that as it is, it does have an adverse effect on the properties, lots 1 and 2, if it were indeed to be found that, but we can work within the constraints of what's there.
Okay, well, I don't know what the other gentlemen think, but you sort of covered yourself. If you want to determine what it is and put a label on it so that you don't necessarily have to treat it as a significant vernal pool, that's on you.
Correct.
And so if you want us to wait for you to do that, we will. If you are satisfied by having this 250-foot setback and know that you're covered, I would say that we're satisfied with that too, because you seem to have taken care of any possibilities.
That was our
So we're
intention
gonna
coming
leave
in.
that up to you. If you wanna make sure and that this either is or isn't a significant vernal pool, then do that and come back and tell us. Whether he gets his paperwork in or not is irrelevant and immaterial. So as long as you do what you need to do and you can show us that what it is, then we'll
Well, I-
move accordingly.
I think that Jim's saying it's not a significant vernal pool, so we're showing information I'm showing, on my plan, I'm showing information that is counter to the design professionals that I hired, that's the point.
Right, well, and I like Jim very much, and I'm sure he has a very nice expert too, and there are loads of peer review that you can get out there and get somebody to say, you know, just about anything.
Listen,
Jens
the
knows.
point about these is that until it's clarified either way, the DEP standards say, treat it like a significant vernal
Okay,
pool.
and so you have, but
Yes.
if you don't wanna treat it that way, then you have to come back and
Right.
give us, you know.
No, we're happy where it is now, yeah,
Okay,
I'm just,
so if
just
you're
for-
happy with where it is and you've taken care of all the appropriate setbacks to treat it as, at its most extreme point, I would say that we're happy with that too. Tad?
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So we shouldn't have any more discussion about significant vernal pools because
right.
you've
that's
taken
fine.
care of it. So, Michael? You,
I completely agree.
okay, so moving right along, that's my favorite tagline. Yes, Marty?
Okay. Where we're putting, this lot 2.
Yep.
Originally, when we did one of our first site walks, and everything else along South Skillings Road, different butter turn I mentioned along later that you're gonna leave some of the area undisturbed, okay? Because we weren't gonna put something there at the time, or thought, okay? My question is from the lot line of going to, lot 2, where is the distance roughly? Because it's, from the lot line to the road.
Which road, Marty?
The road going into lot 2.
The length of the driveway, you mean?
Yeah, the driveway, that's where I'm saying road, driveway, I mean,
Yeah, oh, that is about, just wanna check my scale here.
but roughly,
Probably 350 feet.
no, not the length of the driveway.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about from
The distance
the
from the other.
from the abutters,
Oh, the home.
okay, what I'm referring to is when Mr. Rooney, okay, who lives on the corner there, he wanted to know if there was gonna be there, and then we decided it wasn't gonna be there, that, you try to leave a natural buffer.
That's gotta be 600 feet to the corner, don't you think? You talking about the corner house?
No. Here,
It's just the guy way down.
Oh, it's
Rudy,
yeah, it's 200 feet,
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying, what I'm trying to go and ask my question is, from here to here, okay, is that 25, 50, whatever?
Well, the width of this is 50 feet, isn't it?
A driveway?
No, the right of way too.
Right away, it'll be a 14-foot wide drive.
The driveway is drawn in at 14 feet, the width of this altogether
Okay.
is 50.
So he has plenty of, buffer.
Yeah.
That's all I
Yeah,
want.
and they'll leave a tree on the,
Yeah, but you
towards
don't,
the driveway, and he'll keep it to
yeah,
the other
but
side.
you remember what,
Yeah,
other than the discussion,
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking.
yeah.
Thank you.
So Jason, why don't you get what you need to Tad?
Yeah.
And then, when do you need that Tad in order for them to get back on a schedule, or do you wanna work that out with Jason and then have him come back? How do you wanna do this?
Well, the question is, assuming that this is all turns out the way
It shows.
it shows, and right now, I'm not having any real dispute in that, except, up here you show 100 foot again, Jason, it's 75.
Well, I like to be, I like
I
to
do.
give myself some room.
question is, does the board want to, consider having a public hearing on this?
We've had one before already, sir?
No, wait,
No, on this one.
Not that I know of.
Not a
I
scheduled
thought-
one.
not a scheduled one.
But-
I felt like
We
everything
already-
was a public hearing.
Yeah, whole public hearing.
Okay, so when does Jason need to have all of his material to you to give you enough time to post it for a public hearing?
Well, question, wait a minute, Susan, before you say that, since we've had all the different changes,
14 days.
okay, the application is still complete
Now.
now.
Like this to the 7th. I mean, I can have this in here on Monday.
Right, but then Jason has to provide the changes, so if he gets you all the necessary changes by Monday, do you have enough time for us to put him on the schedule for a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, provided you get everything to Tad by Monday, Tad will put you on the schedule for a public hearing at
When?
the next meeting, the 7th.
It's 10 days.
Yes.
Is 10 days enough? It's not 2 weeks.
I have to do it in Portland Press Herald. and we can't do it online weekly.
We'll pay the difference.
Okay.
There it is.
Done, Monday, have it to him, and then if you're satisfied, then put him on for
Yeah,
a
I mean,
public
I
hearing
have
for the
to-
7th.
I actually have to let them know tomorrow. I figured 10, because I need 2 days.
Okay, if you don't get it in, then you pick up the tab for
Yeah.
him putting it in the newspaper if you don't make the public hearing on the 7th.
Pressures on.
How's that?
Maybe we can.
Fair enough, so it doesn't cost the town anything. All right,
Oh, well, then, that has to be a decision on the board.
yes, I can't move any.
I'll make a motion, we have a
Okay,
public
thank you.
hearing at the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
And that's November 7th.
With the provisions that were just stated.
Right, that Jason provides Tad with all the information completed that he needs to appear in a public hearing on the 7th. And if it
And-
doesn't happen, he will pay for the ad and pay for the
Take
subsequent
it out of
ad.
my building.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Yep.
Roger, so moved?
Yes.
Okay, Marty?
Yes, with the, as amended.
Okay, all those in favor? Oh,
Can I just make a couple of comments? Is that legal?
For the public hearing.
yes,
Yes?
for the public hearing.
Okay.
Hang on,
All right, what,
for the
There's just a
7th.
correction on the map I wanted to make focus on.
Is this the Duck Brook?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Duck
Davis.
Pond.
It's Davis Pond.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I call it Duck
That's
Pond.
Davis Pond, Duck Brook.
You're gonna fix that?
Yeah, yeah, we'll fix it.
Okay.
Okay,
Typo error.
we're good?
We're good. I don't understand half of this googly gawk, so that's fine. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
you've been paying attention the whole
It's
time.
fine, yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor?
aye,
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? All right, it passes,
All right.
pressure's on. Okay, make it happen. Okay.
Thanks for the long diatribe.
Oh, something simple, I think.
like, you like how I play,
So,
how you, old school?
Paper Rondo Cottages,
It's 2 fingers, it was 3 fingers and goes. Yeah, scale it.
Okay, thanks.
what did I think we agreed to? Oh, we haven't approved the utility shift yet? So. So, how would you like to handle that? Okay, why don't we let him,
We can move on the other and, modify.
okay. Where'd you go?
Oh,
Okay, why don't you?
Should
Go
we start?
ahead. Yes, I think we left something, we perhaps left something out, and so we'll figure out how to deal with it, but
Okay.
proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Again, Rick Light, Light Environmental Design. So, Tonight, we'd like to have the planning board, hopefully approve the plan and sign the Mylar tonight. Are there any questions from the board on what was presented or in the memo to the board application?
Through the chair.
Yes.
I thought after sidewalk and everything else, and we have the design of the pool, correct?
Right, it's a separate item, yeah.
Right,
I
so
thought
this
they
is
were being
for
joined
the,
together. I mean,
addition of an acre
Yeah,
of
Right.
land,
Right.
right, and you slightly moved, tweaked some of the placement of the houses,
Right.
right.
And add the utility building.
So that's what this pending
Okay,
application
so-
is for, we haven't gotten to the.
so we're just
yet.
gonna keep new Mylars for each change.
So you're
That's
gonna,
what,
you're gonna give us new Mylars for the pool,
These
If
are
the
in,
board-
the
yeah.
utility building,
Yeah, we got
Okay.
two separate applications.
okay.
that's what we got.
This Mylar in front of you is this plan right here, yeah, which documents those three minor changes.
So with Tad's permission, on the pool application, will you add the utility shed?
Our
Does that work?
utility shed is on this one.
The utility shed's on this plan
Yeah,
here.
it's all on
and here.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that, but we didn't include it,
No,
okay, that's fine with me, I think it's,
It's all
Some
on,
minor.
documented on the plan.
okay.
there's the 1 acre.
The plan indicates very clearly what, you know, so if you read the plan, you look at it, well, what's going on? There's a note here that indicates, you know, what the plan is accomplishing, those three items. And it changes the area, overall area by 1 acre.
So Tad, is there anything else besides the utility shed?
Yes, we're moving to 186.
Movement of 186?
Yeah, it's relocation of 186.
Right, so you moved it across the street?
Southeast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
at the very end.
So what would you like him to do in order to codify that?
Well, it's got a mile on there, so.
Well, it's in the right place on the Mylar.
Correct.
Yeah, everything's correct with the mile, that's what I just checked.
Okay.
That's the one we're coming up on, that's not this one. Should've done the one next.
So, do you have any other questions?
No, I have no questions on it, we just have to include it in the findings of fact.
Okay, so where would you like to put that in the findings of fact, once we vote on this pending application?
You should have findings of fact.
I did. I did. I did. So I would like to have a motion to approve this application, this pending application.
Yay.
Second,
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No, so the motion passes.
So the mile,
Okay,
I will do a final revised findings of fact and give it to you to sign at the next meeting,
okay.
okay?
Does that work for you?
That's fine with us, thank you very much.
Okay. So,
Well, we can sign this probably at.
At the end of the meeting.
yeah, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Kimball gravel pit,
We don't need the findings of fact tonight, or not?
no, we have to make a change to it. We have to add the utility shed. So I think we'll leave them to the next meeting.
Don't forget the spelling right here.
Through the chair.
Yes,
Through the chair.
That you signed my
Findings of fact.
Make sure they did.
Your page.
Don't worry about that.
Tad wants to add it,
Huh?
He wants to do a clean.
a clean
Okay,
copy.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, it would be fine with me, but I think everyone agrees it's okay
Okay.
for this reason.
I'm just thought, so.
All right,
Here for,
any
Yeah,
questions? This is pretty straightforward, he comes back
Yeah.
every 3 years,
Right on time, too.
and all the growth is grown, and everybody seems to be pleased with the screening.
Yep, screening's all in place, the gravel actually has some sweet fern growing in it, so it's been there for quite a while.
everything's all sold.
Everything's all sloped, it's stabilized, there's no, it's a bowl, so there's no,
Generally drained, been inspected on a regular basis by DEP.
and There hasn't been any change to the,
Minimal use, in the last 3 years.
Okay. So,
Make a motion, it's been completed.
yes,
Second.
I have to read the findings of fact. Okay, I have the findings of fact. Hold on a second, Marty.
And do you have an extra copy for me? Ted?
Here, or,
didn't I send it to you in email?
I didn't have it.
should be right up here, actually.
Okay, Town of Arundel Planning Board, findings of fact and motion for approval, conditional use permit renewal for Sergeant gravel pit. Whereas on September 26th, 2019, the planning board received a conditional use renewal application from Sargent Corporation for permitting of an existing 5-acre mineral extraction operation located at 346 Thompson Road, tax map 20, lot 7 in the R4 district. Whereas on October 10th, 2019, the Arundel Planning Board declared the application complete, and upon the site inspection report of the town planner, elected to forego a planning board site walk. Whereas on October 24th, 2019, the Arundel Planning Board conducted a public hearing on the proposed renewal. Findings of fact. You got one?
Oh, keep going.
Okay. The owner, number one, the owner of the property is John and Diana Kimball. We're gonna vote on these at the end, is that,
Yes.
instead of each one. Number two, the applicant is the Sargent Corporation. Number three, the property is located on the Alfred Road and is identified as Arundel Assessors, map 20, lots 7 and 8, and map 7, lot 3. The property is approximately 78 acres in size with approximately 560 feet of frontage on the Alfred Road and is located in the R4 zoning district. In 1991, the applicant received approval for a mineral extraction operation on the premises. Approval has been renewed periodically since that time. The area approved for extraction is approximately 4 to 5 acres in area. Only about 3 acres have been excavated to date. The applicant has submitted a site and grading plan prepared by Sargent Corporation dated 8/22/07 with revisions through to 6/10/10 showing regarding an excavation areas. So, hold on a second, there's something grammatical, am I missing? Regarding and excavation areas, okay. Site visits confirm that no additional excavation has occurred since the last survey. The applicant has deposited several piles of gravel for storage and or processing, however, no additional excavations have occurred during the permit period. So you need a semicolon, Corinne, before the however, and a comma after.
Also, the plan was amended in 2016.
Yes, it was.
So we could like, should we put that into number 7?
Yes.
Okay, Corinne, can you add that? Number 8, staff site visits also confirm that screening mitigation measures required by the planning board in 2017 have been successfully installed and are in good condition. Number 9, the applicant maintains a surety bond for $50,000 for reclamation of the pit. Yes. So conformance with conditional use criteria. After due review and consideration, the Arundel Planning Board has determined the application to be in conformance with the criteria of section 9.2.9 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance as follows. 9.2.9.1, that the use is compatible with and similar to the general categories of uses of neighboring properties. The planning board finds that the existing use and proposed expansion is a permitted conditional use in the district and is compatible with other similar uses in the R4 district.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Yeah,
Aye.
It is unanimous. 9.2.9.2, 9.2, the use is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the anticipated future development of the neighborhood. The planning board finds that mineral extraction uses are permitted uses in the rural conservation district as outlined in the comprehensive plan, and therefore the use is in fact in conformance with the 2016 comprehensive plan.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Okay, 9.2.9.3, that there is adequate and safe pedestrian and vehicular access to and into the site to accommodate anticipated traffic to and from the use. The planning board finds that the application is in conformance of the criteria of section 9.2.9.3 in that the site is remote with no foot traffic and very little vehicle traffic. The MDOT traffic movement permit is in force, and there is a paved apron at the entrance to protect the integrity of the Route 11 travel lane.
It should be, 111, shouldn't it?
Right, I believe so. Okay, so Corinne, in the first line, that the application is in conformance with the criteria. And it should be Route 111.
Yep.
Okay.
So moved with the amendments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 9.2.9.4, that there is adequate water supply and sewage disposal available to service the use. The planning board has found that the application meets the criteria of section 9.2.9.4 in that the use does not require an on-site water supply or sewage disposal system and therefore has no impact upon these environmental concerns.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. 9.2.9.5, that there will be no noise, dust, odor, vibration, or smoke generated by the use that will adversely affect neighboring properties. The planning board has found that the application meets the criteria of section 9.2.9.5 in that there's been very little excavation performed on the site, and the code enforcement office has not reported any citizen complaints in the past 3 years.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 9.2.9.6, that the physical characteristics of the site, including location, slopes, soils, drainage, and vegetative cover are suitable for the proposed use. The planning board has found that the application meets the criteria of section 9.2.9.6 in that the slopes are improved, that the original plan and all drainage is diverted into the pit area. All standards in section 9.2.9.6 are met.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 9.2.9.7, that the use will not constitute a public or private nuisance. The planning board has found that the application meets the criteria of section 9.2.9.7, and the code enforcement office has not reported any citizen complaints in the past 3 years.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 9.2.9.8, that all other requirements and applicable provisions of this ordinance, particularly any pertinent performance standards, are met. The planning board has found that the application meets the criteria of section 9.2.9.8 in that all submissions by the applicant are in compliance with and meet the performance standards.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Decision. Based on the above facts and conclusions, the Arundel Planning Board approves renewal of the conditional use permit for Sargent Corporation to continue operation of, do we need an article there? A 5-acre mineral extraction operation? Or to continue operation of 5-acre mineral I think we need an,
Indefinite article.
yeah,
Or the.
Or the.
Yeah.
yeah, that was good. The 5-acre mineral extraction operation located at 346 Thompson Road, tax map 20, lot 7, in the R4 district, contingent upon the following conditions. 1, hours of operation will be limited to Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. 2, the applicant shall maintain a $50,000 surety bond, naming the town of Arundel as the insured for the period of this permit. Number 3, the permit shall expire on October 24th, 2021. So approved by the planning board. Oh,
2 years.
do I need to have a
3
motion
years
to
or
approve
something?
that? So can I have a
Yeah, it should be
motion,
three.
Marty, to
Yeah,
approve that?
I would suggest one amendment. This says the permit shall expire October 24th, 2021. I think that should go out to 22.
It'd be better if it was 5 years, but, not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Put that in your permit for next time.
Well,
Working on it,
good, yeah,
working on it, Chip.
okay.
2022? Okay, number 3, the permit shall expire on October 24th, 2022.
Yay.
All those,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous.
Who's the second? Not that, I mean, I did.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean,
Thank
it's
you
good
very
to
much.
have at that point.
You're all set.
We need a Mylar though.
You need a Mylar?
Yeah.
So approved by the Arundel Planning Board this 24th day of October 2019. Yay.
Even though nothing changed?
Yeah. The text here.
All right, Paul.
Text.
You want me to, does a camera have to see this?
Oh.
I don't.
Please,
Camera to see it?
This is right up.
Oh, I got it.
Thank you. Sorry.
Item 4, Linda Zook, represented by Paul Gadbois for the shoreland zoning permit. Request to construct 3 residential buildings on existing parcels identified as map 38, lot 16, 14A and 14B, and the construct portions of Lady Slipper Way within the shoreland overlay district. The applicant is also requesting a special exception to reduce the minimum building setback from the upland edge of the wetlands on lot 16 from 50 feet to 25 feet. Linda Zook is the owner and applicant, and Paul Gadbois, P.E., is the applicant's agent.
Yes, thank you. I'm Paul Gabbers, working on the project for Linda Zook, and of course Chris Colby's here to map the wetlands and help with the DEP and Army Corps permitting. And also Linda's here if you have any questions for Linda. A couple of things on the advertisement. We are asking for the special exception to reduce the setback from 50 to 25 feet for lot 16 and 14A.
Yeah, we have that in the.
And also to construct a portion of, or reconstruct Lady Slipper, and also obviously the driveways in the shoreland zone.
Yeah. Lady Slipper, the actual construction standards of Lady Slipper will be done by staff.
Correct, yeah, but just so that we are gonna be construction, a portion in the shoreland zone, or actually the shoreland, and then the
Well,
driveway
yeah,
crossing the
that's why,
shoreland zone.
that's why it's a shoreline zone permit, because you are doing this in the shoreline zone.
And I know some of you have been in sidewalk, we are asking for a reduction in buffer in this area here, and also for a slight reduction in buffer in this area here. And we'd glad to answer any questions that the board may have, unless Chris wants to add something.
Give any more thought to moving that driveway further away from that shoreline?
I have to have this driveway crossing at this location, because that's the rock bottom minimum wetland fill for the project, so that's the first thing the Army Corps would say, why don't you put it in this location so we minimize the wetland fill, so it has to go in that location, and I don't wanna jog this driveway over, even just for plowing purposes, and trying to drag it back, so no, we haven't, made that concession, and we want to get it approved just the way it is.
Yeah,
So
that-
this is 25 feet?
Yeah, we're maintaining a 25-foot buffer. And it's,
That's the basic principle for DEP and Army Corps permitting is if you can't avoid wetland impact, minimize it to the greater extent practicable, and I think we meet that, by basically locating the crossing narrowest part of the wetland.
So Paul, I'm sort of in the wrong time zone, so can you just, so that little corner is the only piece that
this one here?
that one you're requesting 25 feet as opposed to 50?
Correct, because if I do the 50-foot buffer in this area, it's gonna get a little tight for putting in the driveway turnaround.
And the other one is up top?
The other one's right here.
Oh, right there, so the whole thing,
Correct.
okay. All right.
Through the chair, I have a question for
Yes.
Chris. Chris, does DEP, does the wetlands unit take into account the shoreline zoning unit when there's a conflict between the two?
For their review,
Yeah. I mean, you've got shoreline zoning that says that you know, you should move your driveways to outside of our buffer area. And at the same time, you've got DEP wetlands unit and our PA unit saying, no, you've gotta do the absolute minimum crossing. How's that get reconciled?
yeah, you know, they don't really, I don't believe they, you know, they have to do their own independent review. You know, so they're really looking at it from the wetland and water bodies rules, chapter 310, are you
Right.
avoiding and minimizing impact? So I think it's independent,
We're not,
We're
we're not,
looking at it from 1,000.
yeah,
So we're following those DEP rules and
yeah,
you're following DEP rules and they're clashing.
yeah.
why are they clashing? I don't understand they're clashing if there's an opportunity to cross it where Paul has got it located there, but bend the driveway. Why not bend the driveway?
I mean, so you want me to take this driveway?
No, I don't want you to do anything, except
I
explain
just
to me
think,
why
I
you
just
can't
think
do it.
that, you know, personally, it's a grandfather lot of record. I'm thinking we're not asking for the world here. I think we went through DEP, Army Corps of Engineers, and got some decent permitting for this project. This is the plan that we're proposing. At this point, you guys are trying to not have this thing come over and come back to where I want. I just don't think that really makes a whole lot of sense, and I'm asking not to do that. I'm asking for that buffer along that wetland edge.
This is a special exception. I mean, first of all, your 100-foot setback it's not 100 foot, it's 50 foot. It's because those are all forested wetlands.
It's a 50-foot buffer required, correct?
Right.
It's a 100-foot.
100-foot.
Shoreline zone.
Yeah, it's shoreline zone, but it's 50-foot buffer.
Correct.
You're asking for half that in that location.
Correct.
Ed, any
Yes.
other thoughts,
No, it's just,
suggestions?
no, I mean, I went out there specifically for two reasons. You asked me to go out there for two reasons. One was make sure that there were no other adjoining wetlands that might kick this up into a different category, like resource protection, if there weren't. I think we could clarify that pretty quickly out there. I think the only other thing was, is there anything remarkable about this wetland in which a reduction of 25 feet of setback would be justified? Or is there something that would be better for the wetland if the 50-foot setback that's already required by our ordinance stay in place? The thing that I noticed about it was that that area there, the slope of the ground was actually going in the opposite direction of the wetland. It seemed like the land was actually, the topography was moving a little bit to the southwest in that area.
Okay, so what area
It was moving-
specifically
it was
on
moving
the
to the
map?
left,
Can
yeah.
you just show us?
Yeah, it seemed to be moving a little bit.
So it's
The
moving
drainage was
towards
moving.
the building lot or away
Yeah,
from the building lot?
The building lot's actually going like,
Okay.
it's not moving towards the wetland in that area. I mean, am I wrong on that?
No.
And that's significant because,
Well, because it's not draining into the wetland.
Have less impact on the
Yeah,
wetland.
it's less impact on the wetland. So if it's not having that much of an impact on the wetland, the question is, the planning board has the option of making a special exception to allow half reduction of that setback. If they believe that there's nothing remarkable there and there's no impact that's gonna be caused, and you still have a 25-foot setback to the edge of the wetland itself. If you recall, when we did our shoreline zoning, we did it to make sure in situation, this was only applicable if you have a forested wetland that's not necessarily remarkable, or a scrub wetland that's not necessarily remarkable. I think the only thing that was out there that we saw some stream relevance in there from intermittent streams that came up obviously during the high water season, during the wet season.
so is it mostly scrub? Is that what it was?
No, it was way off there. It was almost off the property, I think. I think it was off the property, because
yeah.
Linda's flags were there, right? That was the invisible fence. That was a really good
Dog
property
flag,
marker, by the way. So it's kinda off the property. So, from staff level standpoint, I don't really have a problem. I don't think, it's up to you folks, but I trudged around there quite a bit, and I didn't see anything overly you're gonna still be 75 feet, at the 25-foot mark, you're gonna be 75 feet from the edge of one of those streams.
So is there any compelling reason that you saw, I mean, I wasn't on the sidewalk, not to give them that, you know, special
No, I think that
exception?
the only concern I have again is, as it says in the ordinance, it's a special exception. You guys should give this out with great discretion. In this case, Paul brings up one issue that, you know, I think is relevant. This lot's existed since 1989. Shoreline zoning, as we know it, didn't exist at that time. It's a lot of record. Yeah, I mean, you lose out sometimes when shoreline zoning, occurs and you don't build before that. There are examples of that around, but you would have to, the board has to feel very compelled about this. That this has an impact, because you don't wanna do it all the time. Otherwise, you shouldn't have a 50-foot. But I think in that particular situation, it's gradient's going the opposite direction. And the one in the corner is just, it's a total difference. It's all, that wetland, actually the wetland off to the west is even, that's all wooded, forested wetland. It's really not remarkable at all. Actually, Chris and I were noticing it's humped all over the place.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, and I wanna add a point to, you know, just, I don't think you know, I think this one, the driveway, moving it is kind of irrelevant for the point that we're clearing it all anyways, you know, so even if this driveway was moved, we still need, we're still asking for a reasonable amount of clearing around the house for the integrity of the driveway and just the property around the house for, you know, fallen trees. I mean, that's not a lot of area to clear around the house. You know, I would typically, if it was my house, I'd want 100 feet. So it's not, you know, we're wiping out this area, but we're still leaving 25 feet for, which is, I think, is a reasonable amount of clearing around the house.
All right, gentlemen, thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's only two of us that were on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I don't have any heartburn over it being.
I don't have any heartburn over it, but I wasn't there because I said it couldn't be there.
The fact that it's sloping in the other direction, I don't see it, you're gonna gain much by moving that driveway.
And that's how I feel. I mean, you know, plowing, it's gonna be a lot easier, just kind of cross the wetland and straight to the house.
Now,
Yeah,
are
I
these
think that's
I
driveways,
mean, you know, trying to,
So,
are these driveways gonna maintain gravel, or are they,
I'm showing them as gravel, but, you know,
I mean,
eventually I'm sure they'll be made.
yeah.
When, I can't say when.
Well, I guess coming into this thing, I'm sort of a new student to wetlands and implications and so forth. I feel like, why not just move it over a little bit if it's not, in order to comply with what's there and not confront a situation that we are gonna be called upon in the future to make this kind of a precedent. But I'm also guided, I think, by some of Chris's remarks and some of the insights that I gained on my sidewalk with him and with Paul. And also Tad's remarks about how long this has been a lot of record, so I guess on balance, I think I'd be inclined to go along with the request as to both lots.
Thank you.
Marty, anything? Roger?
No,
It makes sense. It makes sense overall. I mean, even though I wasn't there physically, I've walked enough around down there.
Okay,
You gonna take your shooting range out now?
so we seem to have a consensus. What's behind, is that Linda behind, is that your house behind that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I was just curious.
Somewhere's right here.
Okay, so do we have a consensus?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, So,
Madam Chair?
yes?
If I may, one thing I am a little concerned of, because I had this problem all the time before, is when this is signed by us, instead of having a lot of this other stuff in there, I think having limits of clearing indicated on the plan would be very, very important. Because that's important for the homeowner to know, because what happens to us is we say this at the staff level, or at the planning board level, oh, this is the limits of clearing, and then we go out there and it's wiped clear.
You know, I kind of define limits of clearing as this,
Yeah,
you know, proposed clearing limit.
we want that,
So, I mean, it's
we
there.
codify that and say, don't clear beyond that line. And making a reference in your deed wouldn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
And to the transfer limit in there saying that you shall not clear beyond that line.
Absolutely.
But
That's a
That's
warning.
just clear for development, that's not, doesn't restrict them from doing timber harvest and forest management activities.
In the wetland?
No, I'm just bringing it up, is that the clearing just, you know, just subject for.
For
clearing
danger
for
trees?
develop-
No.
Clearing for development.
For development,
Okay.
well, it would be, you know, the homeowner going and clear cutting the lot, yeah, no problem with that.
Yeah, we can make reference, obviously, in the deed,
Yeah.
that these lots, clearing limits
Yeah.
as shown in the plan, absolutely.
Good.
Yes, that makes sense.
Is that all you want?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we have a consensus.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, can we,
one other,
Yeah,
Do we have a finance?
yes, but I can't find mine. I had it here, I was
I
so
have it right here.
organized,
Here
and
we
then
go.
now I
You can,
can't find it.
Right here.
Just over there.
Ah, thank you.
That's from the-
One question I
Right,
have,
right.
Paul, with these three lots coming in, is that, they're gonna be entered in part of the road maintenance agreement that you have?
It's already,
There is, yeah, there's been an existing road maintenance agreement.
I mean, with these three new ones?
Right.
Oh, they, yeah,
Now, that's just,
Right,
you
yeah.
Take it out.
Yeah.
know what I'm
Take that
saying?
out.
yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. The-
Yeah,
Okay,
so they aren't hand shoveling,
Over on that. They're doing it now.
huh?
okay, findings of fact. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas, on October 9th, 2019, the Arundel Planning Board received a shoreland zoning application from Linda Zook to construct 3 residential buildings on existing parcels identified as map 38, lot 16, 14A, and 14B, and construct portions of Lady Slipper Lane within the shoreland overlay zone, and to also request a special exception in accordance with Land Use Ordinance 8.6.2.4 to reduce the minimum building setback from the upland edge of the wetlands on lot 16 from 50 feet to 25 feet. Whereas, on October 22nd, 2018, the planning board conducted a public site walk. Can you stick an A in there? Corinne? They conducted a public site walk of the proposed project site and the areas of requested wetlands setback reductions in accordance with Land Use Ordinance 8.6.2.4. Whereas on July 26, 2018, the planning board conducted a public hearing in conformance with Land Use Section 10.6.3.3. And whereas the Arundel Planning Board has determined the following findings of fact and notice of decision. Findings of fact. The owner of the property is Linda Zook. 2, the property is located on Lady Slipper Lane, map 38, lot 16, 14A, and 14B in the shoreland overlay and R3 zones. 3, the property currently contains an exempt subdivision consisting of a partially constructed private way named Lady Slipper Lane, located off Log Cabin Road, consisting of 5 lots, with 2 of the lots currently containing single-family homes. 4, the applicant proposes to make substantial improvements to the surface and drainage systems of the existing Lady Slipper Way and to develop the 3 unoccupied lots, 14A, 14B, and 16. The applicant has conducted an extensive wetlands delineation, both on and off-site, as prepared by Joseph Noel, soil scientist, and verified by Chris Covey of Albert Frick and Associates. The site investigation revealed a series of interlocking forested wetlands meeting the criteria of shoreland overlay wetlands that meander through the proposed improvement area.
Can we go back? I just wanted to make sure everything's correct, but you said 5 lots, there's actually 6 lots in there.
The parent lot was not considered part of that the original cloth lot. The cloth lot started off in the corner, the northwest corner.
Where are these corners? Where are you?
This was, yeah, this was the original lot. When we did our research. That was the original lot, wasn't it?
Oh, was that part of these,
Yeah.
road maintenance agreement, that's included, right?
It's included,
Yeah,
yeah.
the maintenance agreement.
I'm pretty sure they're included in the road.
Okay, the original subdivision, this was divided off of him,
Yeah,
and
the
this was.
original line was right down the middle.
Right.
Between two
I
sides.
just didn't,
So is it 6 or 5?
Wait, no, was it 6 for maintenance, right? The road
Six
maintenance.
you said it was
purposes
road
all
maintenance
agreed.
agreement, you were talking road maintenance agreement, right?
No.
Consisting of 5 lots, with 2 of the lots currently containing single-family homes. Doesn't say anything about a road maintenance
Oh, okay.
agreement.
I guess
It would be a three-family home thing, because there's a house out there.
I don't know if that really makes a
I don't
difference.
think it
Okay,
makes a
just- I
difference.
just did-
Really, it's
Well,
not the road.
there was no
maintenance,
mention of
it's
the
not
road maintenance, sorry.
Yeah.
Where are we? Number 6.
Sorry.
No, I read 5. Number 6, the applicant has submitted a site plan and detailed road and site construction details showing that all proposed buildings will be constructed outside of the 50-foot wetland buffers on lots 14A and 14B. However, the building site on lot 16 is proposed within the 50-foot shoreland overlay buffer. Site clearing is also proposed on lots 14A for driveway backup. Number 7, the applicant has requested a special exception to the shoreland overlay district setback from the resource boundary. In response, the board has conducted a site visit and determined the following. A, that the forested wetland area within 50 feet of the wetlands edge on lots 16 and 14A are not remarkable or essential to the health of the wetlands proper. B, that conditions on the site are unique in that lot 14A and lot 16 has been a legal building lot of record since 1989. C, the reduction of wetland setback by 25 feet will not have any appreciable impact upon the parent shoreland overlay wetland on lot 16. D, that the reduction of the wetland setback on lot 14A will have no impact. 8, the applicant's site plan prepared by Paul Gadbois, P.E., dated 7/5/19, with revisions to 9/12/19, also show vegetation clearing within the 50-foot wetlands buffer for all driveway crossings on lots 14A and 14B and 16. The applicant has received DEP and RPA permits for such crossings. Number 9, the private way Lady Slipper Lane is already partially constructed its entire length, and improvements that will infringe upon the wetland area are minimal. Okay, conformance conditional use criteria. After due review and consideration, the Arundel Planning Board has determined the application to be in conformance with the approval criteria of section 8.6.7 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance as follows. 8.6.7.1, the proposed project conforms to all standards of the zoning district and meets or exceeds performance standards specified in sections 5 and 8.0 of this ordinance. Proposed uses are permitted as conditional shoreland zone uses in the shoreland overlay districts and permitted.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. 8.6.7.2, the proposed project conforms to the goals and objectives of the Arundel Comprehensive Plan. The project is a completion of a partially completed subdivision in a rural residential district.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 8.6.7.3, the proposed project has received all applicable federal and state permits. The applicant has secured DEP permits for the proposed driveway crossings. The vernal pool located on lot 14B is an ACOE jurisdictional pool, and the applicant has provided the requisite 100-foot buffer on the plans.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So Chris, can you just tell me what ACOE means?
Army Corps of
Engineers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. 8.6.7.4, the proposed project will not adversely impact upon the existing water regime, hydrology, salinity, water chemistry, flow volume, or flow velocity of wetlands, ponds, streams, and water courses. All structures will be located outside of the 50-foot buffers of the SOP wetlands on the site. Vegetational clearing within the 50-foot setback for a forested shoreland overlaying wetlands is limited to a driveway access crossing and those two sections of lot 16 and 14A, where the planning board has permitted a reduction in the wetlands buffer from 50 to 25 feet due to extraordinary circumstances.
So moved.
All those in favor? Oh, I
Aye.
need a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, it's correct. 8.6.7.5, the proposed project will not have an adverse impact upon the quality of groundwater resources. The project will have no impact upon existing groundwater resources.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
It's unanimous. 8.6.7.6, the proposed project will not result in sedimentation, erosion, and/or nutrient loading of adjacent and downstream wetlands, water bodies, streams, and water courses. The applicant had provided an adequate soil erosion control plan for averting sedimentation of adjacent water courses and wetlands during construction activities.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 8.6.7.7, the proposed project will not have a deleterious impact upon existing and valuable aquatic and wildlife habitats and populations. The activities will be outside of the resources and will not have an appreciable impact upon aquatic life. There are no identified critical areas or habitats on or adjacent to the site.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 8.6.7.8, the proposed project will not adversely impact critical wildlife habitats and marine resources. The proposed project will not have, we have a redundancy there. Two will not haves. The proposed project will not have any impact on existing aquatic or terrestrial habitats.
So moved with corrections.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
8.6.7.9, the proposed project will not adversely impact important local cultural resources, archaeological and historic resources for the visual quality of the shorelines and surrounding environs as viewed from the resource and public spaces. There are no identified local cultural or historic resources on the property, and the project will not have a negative visual impact on adjacent shorelines.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 8.6.7.10. The proposed project will not produce noise, odors, dust, debris, glare, solar obstruction, or other nuisances that will adversely impact the quality of life in the resource area. The project will not generate offensive odors, dust, debris, or other nuisances, nor will it denigrate quality of life in the neighborhood once the project is completed with construction.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. 8.6.7.11, the proposed project will not adversely impact the integrity of important vegetative stands as well as unique natural resources or areas as identified by the Maine Department of Conservation. There are no unique natural areas on the property identified by the MDOC.
So moved.
Question,
Yes, Maria.
do we want to make a note, as Paul was saying, with the no-cut zone?
Go ahead, read ahead.
Read ahead?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be there in the conditions.
8.6.
We have to second it. Nobody seconded it, would it?
Oh, do you wanna,
I was gonna say, I think we only have,
Yeah, you want a second?
Yes.
Second.
that will be added?
It's on, just keep reading, it's at the
Okay.
bottom.
So, and did we vote on 8.6.7.11?
I made a motion.
And I second.
Right. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's unanimous. 8.6.7.12, the proposed project meets the approval standards of Land Use Ordinance 10.6.4. The proposed project as proposed meets the approval standards of section 10.6.4 of the Arundel Land Use Ordinance.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Therefore, be it resolved that based on the above findings and conclusions, the Arundel Planning Board hereby grants a shoreline zoning permit to Linda Zook to construct 3 residential buildings on existing parcels identified as map 38, lot 16, 14A, and 14B, and construct portions of Lady Slipper Lane within the Shoreland Overlay District, and shall be granted a special exception to reduce the wetlands buffer on lots 16 and 14A, as shown on the record plans, subject to the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall submit a record plan showing the areas on lots 14A, 14B, and 16 in which no clearing of the wetlands shall be permitted on the site without planning board approval. Reference shall be made in these for all 3 lots, prohibiting vegetational clearing within these no-cut boundaries. 2, the applicant shall install all soil erosion control measures into place before construction activities commence, and shall notify the planning office prior to the commencement of work. So approved by the Arundel Planning Board this 24th day of October, 2019.
just one point on that last finding. You're approving the construction of 3 residential lots, but it doesn't say driveways. Should we include that in there? Because residential building on 3 lots, but really the key piece is the driveway.
The driveway is part of the residential
It is.
lot
Okay.
construction.
Okay.
I mean,
Alright.
you can't build it without the driveway.
Yeah.
So it's an assumption, it's a good point, Chris.
Doesn't hurt to be specific, I mean, so that there's no question down the road in case we all get hit by a bus.
Right.
So,
That's why this special exemption was there for the driveway.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
do
welcome.
we need to vote on the whole thing?
Yes.
yes, so, that's what I said, so approved by the Arundel Planning Board this 24th day of October 2019. Marty?
Yep, so moved.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
All right, I'll bring them right out.
Congratulations.
I'll bring them right out in first of the week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Mr. Raymond.
Raymond Acres. Re-subdivision of an approved subdivision. Proposed subdivision of lot 5-03, addition of land from tax map 30, lot 5A, to create a fifth lot in the Raymond Acres subdivision at 22 Black Dog Road in the R2 and SP districts. Nicholas Raymond is the applicant and Mary Ann Raymond is the property. So did you get everything resolved?
I believe we have.
We have.
Wow.
I know.
Yikes. Okay, so, is there anything else you need?
No, I don't, well, you guys have, why don't you guys make a presentation?
Yes.
Okay, and, we'll go from there. We're gonna need to schedule a public hearing on this.
Yes,
Yes. So,
agreed.
okay.
Agreed. You wanna do it?
I mean, I don't know if we really,
Sure,
What did I
yes,
say?
you should.
yeah, alright, well, we got everything from the engineer, he said, he designed it, and when we get out to dig it, he'll make sure it's all there, right? I mean,
Yes,
So
Sebago Tech
Yeah.
did the engineering for the road,
Right,
and we've had, Frick do the
so-
septic
yeah.
design and soils tests.
Yeah.
We had Low Village Survey do the road, bringing it up to standard, and the turnaround for the fire engine. And we thought the chief was gonna be here tonight, we brought him a plan, and he
said he
thought
was
it looked good, he'd be here tonight, but,
You didn't
but
mention that to me.
we,
I talked to him
when Tom
Tuesday,
gave him a copy of the plan, he said he'd be here.
but either way,
Which was a alternative to actually doing the cul-de-sac to do that Y turnaround, so that it permitted us to keep the pond, so that he could have a dry hydrant to service the 4 lots that are there. So I think everything has been submitted that was required.
and you were able to get the extra piece of land that you
We
needed?
did, there's a
Yeah.
purchase and sale agreement
Right.
that's enclosed,
I
and
saw
we
that.
also did the maintenance agreement, which will be signed pending the approval.
The P&S closed?
Has it closed?
Is it closed?
No, we don't wanna give him a check till you guys say, yeah, we can do it.
And the lot that was, who had its septic system on another piece of property,
We
did
have
that
agreed
get
to-
resolved?
We have agreed to give him that little piece of land to make him whole, and then he can go register it with the registry of
Okay.
deeds, so he's not a non-conforming lot.
Right.
So hopefully everything is resolved.
I was looking at this before, and, it's been a long road.
Yes.
The poor kid wants to get into his house.
I
I
know.
don't blame him.
So, if the board is willing, then we'll schedule a public hearing. The only thing we're gonna actually need from you guys will be a cost estimate on the road, full cost estimate on the road. I know you can't do it all because it's gonna be as you go, kind of.
Right.
That's what Rob's told me, but.
George Burr is doing the road.
Or do we need to do that now
We need to deem that complete.
first, and then
Yeah.
schedule a public hearing?
So we have to come back again with just that?
Oh, yeah.
and then in the public hearing after that,
No, you have the public hearing now. Well, I have the public hearing in the next meeting.
Okay.
Stuff-
so it's one more meeting total?
George Burr is doing the road work, so,
Okay, but, I'm getting you a cost estimate on what he thinks.
okay, we didn't know that.
Nope.
So you'll have the public hearing the same night?
Yep.
Okay.
Make
And
sure they
then-
need to be
And
here.
then that'll be,
And then the pending application,
Well, then you can vote on it.
right?
Okay. So, I talked to the chief, he told me it was okay.
okay,
I just wanted something in writing, I think the board here get something in writing.
okay,
Sure.
So will that be the 7th, that the public hearing?
Assuming I can get in there, with everybody, yeah.
Well,
They don't have to give me anything.
So they're all set.
I'll need that.
Otherwise, I was
cost
gonna
estimate
make you
before.
pay for the ad. I'm making everybody pay.
That's
If
fine.
you don't get your stuff into Tad by the
so,
time it's due.
so we don't need
then
any,
you have
to
to
bring
pay.
anything in,
Just the cost.
just that, but do we need that before you can schedule it, or, okay, cool.
Scheduling, so get it to me before the meeting, okay?
You
So
got it.
you're all set.
Good.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad did you have fun sitting through all this?
Oh, yes.
I'm glad Linda did well. See you later.
Oh, wait, don't
Hold it,
go,
hold it.
wait,
Sorry.
don't go, we're gonna vote. Sorry about that.
have a vote.
Sorry.
We need
Can I
two
finish?
votes.
Yes,
One vote and one motion.
so we need a motion
I'm-
Public hearing.
to schedule a public
I think we
hearing.
need to vote on completeness, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so let's do that first. We'll vote on its completeness, so I need a motion for that.
I move we deem the Raymond application complete.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
I'll move for a public hearing on this for the next available scheduled date. November 7th?
November seventh.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I would assume better people get pretty quick. Okay. Alright, awesome, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Okay.
Okay, Mark Canal. So apologies, Mark, because I was out of town and I thought that the sidewalk was today. So I got my calendar a little screwed up, but I wasn't gonna make it anyway, so we didn't have a quorum for your sidewalk, so, we need to get back out there, right?
Well, it's up to you guys. If you wanna take the word of the board.
Is that something that's waivable?
Who were there?
Just, Roger and Jens, right?
No.
Jamie was there.
Jamie was there.
Oh, Jamie was there.
I don't think we need to make another sidewalk.
I'd like to see it one day anyway, but I agree, if you feel that you've seen enough,
As I indicated, I'd be perfectly inclined to go out and briefly appear again, but, I mean, I learned a lot on that sidewalk. It's worth going on.
Yeah,
okay? So, Tad?
Yes,
We
ma'am.
still have the questions about fertilizer that is not produced by composting on site,
Yep.
and the odor and things like that. And did we figure out the areas that are being composted and those which are gonna receive compost?
Yes.
they're both in R1 and R2. Composting of solid materials is not permitted.
Yeah, I think the issue that the code enforcement officer brought up, and the issue that, he made clear was that the problem was that under, one thing we didn't find at the last meeting, remember I was searching for something? He found it, it's in the definitions of what a processing facility is. And he said any land, area, structure, equipment, machine, device, system, or combination thereof other than incinerators, which is operated to reduce the volume or change a chemical or physical characteristic of solid waste. Processing facilities include, but are not limited to, facilities which employ shredding, baling, mechanical and magnetic separation, composting with other stabilization techniques to reduce or otherwise change the nature of a solid waste. Composting of animal manure generated on the site shall not constitute a processing facility. So your manure operation, your composting operation on your site, when you're using the manure that you're producing on the site is not a problem. Problem is when you import stuff that's not generated on the site. That's what you can't do in these districts. You can do it in the R4 district, but you can't do it, excuse me, no, you can do it in the, you can do it in the BI district, but you can't do that kind of processing in the R1 and the R2 districts. That's what the code enforcement officer says. Also says that, and the thing was, that you were mentioning, that all of those individual lots, you'd have to be he was saying that basically every single one of those individual lots has gotta be producing animal waste in order for you to compost it on that lot according to this definition. So the import of nitrogen from outside of the lot cannot be permitted.
So that kind of means that you really gotta resort to Monsanto if you wanna have a really healthy field and stay within the land use ordinance.
Yeah.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
But that's.
Would
the
it
way
be
it's
in
written.
would it be in our best interest to, try to get a like zone overlay or something along the lines? I know that was spoken about a while ago, just due to the nature of the situation. Would that make sense to move forward in that way if this way is not gonna work?
You know, to
You
that
know how I
point,
feel.
that's almost, that's even short of where I think it ought to go. And probably I should say at the outset that, tell the board, that I've done some legal work for Mark before. And I occasionally do it in a very limited, context that doesn't have anything to do with land use issues at all. I don't intend to abstain, but I want you guys to know that. And
Oh, I
if anybody has a
appreciate that.
problem with me, weighing in here, then okay, or if you are not comfortable with me, remarking and ultimately making any contribution to decision-making, then say so.
No, I have no problem. It is a delicate situation, but I know how it can be worked out without, it'd be nice if we could work it out right here, but the place is gonna be a farmland for years to come, it's not gonna change. And it's sad to hold the farm back from production of natural resources for just grasslands and,
Well, fundamentally, the problem is the zone lines are
Right.
Right.
ridiculous.
Right.
They're absolutely ridiculous. How Mountain Road could have been put
Zoned
into
R1.
R2 and not R4. It's,
Cause they don't wanna have 3 acre zoning, that's why.
So I'm just wondering if this is
Well,
a
I know,
zoning
but
issue versus.
it's grossly.
So I think part of the issue that was brought up last time too was the odor that was, there were a number of complaints. And so the town, given its past history, which I don't know as much about as I could, is very sensitive to composting and whatever, and odor and how it impacts the residences and the community around it. And Dan Du Bois sat in on that meeting, and he wanted, and I'm not saying that he has any influence necessarily over what the board does, but he said he fielded a great many complaints. Now, Mark explained why there were complaints and what had happened, the circumstances and whatever. But the fact still remains that there were many, apparently, and we can ask for how many, but.
More than one.
So, right,
Well, it was.
many is not a few
awkward
or a
timing for
couple,
Mark.
right,
Awkward timing for Mark, that's all. But-
so,
But underlying all that is, the difference between a responsibly, operated farm and one that wasn't.
Yes.
And I'm not sure this is really punishing because of that, it's because we make it, in this town, we make a distinction between animal husbandry and agriculture. For good reason, you know, if you think about it, if you're putting animal husbandry in residential areas. What you were talking about is something we talked about it way back, you remember, that I had proposed was an overlay district.
Yes, you did
Farm
propose
overlay.
that,
And,
yeah.
and the board, and the combined board did not like the idea of another overlay district. I still maintain, I think that's one of the best ways to deal with this, because
Yeah.
trying to zone large swaths of land that aren't suitable for farming
Well,
of
you're-
any kind, isn't as easy as it is to create an overlay zone that you earn, that you're going to do this thing in that zone and you meet all the qualifications of that. I guess I wanna speak a little bit more about this, cause I was impressed with the walk.
Oh,
I was
absolutely.
impressed with what
Great
you
operation.
guys are doing.
Definitely.
I'm impressed with your plan, I've read the nutrient plan and know what your needs are. I was
And we've
impressed.
seen also the change in the
in
character of the fields.
Yeah,
It's
you can see it.
obvious.
Yeah, and so we're kind of stuck here. We're stuck just as you're stuck. You're stuck more, but we're stuck because we want to see an operation like this occur. And one of the things you made abundantly clear is that it's gonna be real hard not to import material.
Yep.
No farm's gonna produce its own wood shavings. Wood chips, yeah, but wood chips don't work in compost. You're not gonna be able to produce enough of that. You're gonna have to import, I mean, you're already importing carbon, and you have to import carbon. And it's a good way of getting rid of excess carbon, you know, pine needles, the litter and so forth. You know, the issue is, so they already are violating that, but I mean, really, the smell portion comes from the nitrogen sources, you know, from the breaking down the various materials that are breaking down, that are releasing, going through the nitrate cycle. So really, what the problem needs to occur here is that the ordinance has to be changed. I mean, very simply, and we took a real big stab at that and all came very close at last town meeting. But it just takes one piece of misinformation and it just circled the drain as a result.
What's involved in redrawing some of the zone lines to service what are some of the most important, or help some of the most important farms in town, consistently with the town's comprehensive plan that wants to protect and encourage agriculture?
Well, I think one of the things you're gonna have a hard time doing in the R1 district is to rezone land there and make it any less than 1 acre zoning, because people have made real estate, made lifetime investments in that. Same thing with neighborhoods, you know, putting it in neighborhoods where, well, that's all unsuitable.
R1 is gonna be a tough push, but R2,
Yeah, but most of R2 is not habitable. Past Mark's Farm, it doesn't get any
Well,
better.
so the other issue,
It's
yes,
all, this is all legend.
the other issue
No porcelain.
is, while, you know, and I said this last time, while Mark may be a good steward of the land, it's not Mark per se that the board is concerned with in terms of setting a precedent. It's sort of like what we were just talking about with the shoreland overlay zone, you know, being careful about how many modifications we allow. The truth is, we can trust Mark to do what is necessary, but what about who comes after Mark or next to Mark? And
On the same
what-
property?
No, what I'm saying is, in a similar situation, maybe not exact, and then we've already, you know, we've already tied our hands and we don't have any recourse. So I don't know if you can grandfather Mark in, or I don't know what creative, and I'm not making suggestions, but, you know, there may be a creative way to do this, but the odor is a big issue, Mark. And so somehow that has to be a condition.
That happened once in 20 years, that was my bad.
I'm just
I
saying,
understand
but
that.
because of where you are
Mhm.
and the history of what's gone on in the town of late,
Yep,
then people are very sensitive to it.
well.
People are more sensitive today than they turned on years ago.
yes,
Okay.
it's very obvious.
I mean, just in general.
You know, there's one other thing that strikes me, and that is, looking at the definition of processing facility. There's one right across the street from Hardscrabble Farm.
You mean the dump?
It is. So,
The transfer station?
why is the town being, you know, we get the,
It's called a municipal use.
yeah, I know, but still,
Actually, all they're doing is they're actually not reducing it, Jim, they're actually just.
well, they're
they don't
compacting
take-
it, they're compacting it.
Right, taking it out.
So, I mean, it
Now-
fits.
now-
It fits in that.
Yeah, it does.
It
And it also
definitely
fits
does,
in.
and it's right across the street.
And it fits in
I think-
municipal use too.
I think the other consideration that's very valuable in this situation is that we're approaching 300 to 400 acres, and that's being turned over to Maine Farmland Trust. So this is for perpetuity. there'll never be any house lots on that area. It's gonna be taken care of that way, so it's not something that's a 5-minute dream, and then when I'm gone, it's gonna be 700 houses there. There was gonna be 160 houses in there that I saved. I know people like development, but it's gonna be preserved. There's a cost of preservation. If I go to a sawmill, I smell sawdust in that thing, and I like that smell. If I go to a bakery, so there's gonna be some smells. Is it obtrusive to that one person at one particular time? Absolutely. That was a one-item situation. But
It's an isolated
this is
incident.
gonna be a farm perpetuity. So we're trying to build it up so we can just
Yeah, but
give
it's,
that to future generations.
I think though, I think that we're trying to come to a consensus of finding a creative solution to the problem, and they're wanting to work with us to try to figure out how we can get around some of the zonings that we're dealing with in R1 district. Even though we are in an R1 district, we're not really operating as an R1 district per se. So I think it's, what do we need to do is really what we're coming to in order to make it appropriate for us as well as the people surrounding us.
But I don't think the planning board can necessarily help you
Yeah.
craft that creative
Right.
solution,
I got,
except to say, go find a creative solution and
I
come
got-
back and let us know what it is.
Well,
Question.
how about grandfathering?
quick
That's what I
question.
said.
No,
For,
that's what I had, coming along the idea.
for at least Hardscrabble Farm where that cement pad is,
Well-
that's been operated.
But the other thing is, about your overlay is one thing, but the existing other pieces of property, Olive Bridge Farm was a farm.
Yeah.
Okay,
but it
now-
wasn't
now-
a farm within 2 years.
You know, but no, wait a minute, I'm just,
So I'd say the
I'm
gas
going
station was
at
once
a
gas
different
station.
angle, wait a minute, different angle. Historically, I mean, everybody wants to play history and historics, but these pieces of property,
They've
which
always
are
been farmed.
fairly large land, were all farms.
Yeah.
Different names, but they've been combined together.
It's still separate entity.
Well, I'm just using that as part of our idea of farm overlay, but also too, it's a shot in the dark, what I'm trying to throw at.
Well, we couldn't, when we tried to get a definition, and you know,
I
I'm a complete
remember.
neophyte, I know you are, but I was here for that last debacle.
Round,
And, you know, we couldn't find people to agree on what was, you know, a gentleman farm and what was actual farming and what
we
was
did, but
permitted.
equestrian
And
farm,
an
I mean,
overlay zone, and
Well,
it was
it spun out of control.
it was
They
very
stayed
contentious.
Focused on one thing. Instead of
so,
focusing on one issue, getting that done, then going on to the next one, we wanna do it all at once.
you're well represented, and, you know, I didn't say who they're represented by. And, you know, a creative solution, as I threw out, perhaps could be some kind of grandfathering. I'm not suggesting that you follow my lead, but I think you need to go back to the drawing board and put your thinking caps on, come up with some creative solutions that enable us to help you out.
How about an approach to this that, differentiates between getting it for Hardscrabble Farm now and your R1 district properties later, under different conditions? I mean, the more crucial need, isn't it for Hardscrabble Farm?
I think
It's for the Talbot Farm.
I think the crucial need is the spreading of the compost for the crop of hay, and I think that's the most immediate concern. I think the secondary concern would definitely be the zoning, and figuring out moving forward would probably be secondary at this point. I think the primary is the spreading of the compost on the fields, am I right?
On which farm?
Or importing,
Well,
yeah.
But, I mean, if the importation was done, I know this sounds perhaps cumbersome because of the transportation of the material, but if the composting was done at one place, and then you had to bring it, when it was a completed product, then bring it to Talbot, or then bring it to Oliver,
That's what they're doing now.
but that's what we
No,
didn't
that's
want
not
to
what
do.
I'm doing now.
I know.
All these sites have been producing, what we said since we purchased them. So this is nothing new. These sites have been there for, one of them was 6 years, one was 8. So this is nothing, we're not going to the board to, get a new site. These sites have been in work for 6 years, 8 years, depending on when we purchase the property. So this is nothing new. It all came about when we decided to import the nitrogen, because the DEP approved our sites, Maine Agricultural, Land and Maine's Future, all came in and said, you've got the sites, as a universe, we need to take care of the problems of the earth, with what's getting dumped out to sea, you can't, and you've got an approved site that is far reaching in the soils, and,
It's a designated compost site, correct?
well, yeah, with the state,
Like we were-
not in the town's eyes.
I see.
And also, this doesn't make any sense, but the town is the one that changed the zones with the people that have the farming for years, that didn't want it done. And obviously, they didn't want it done because they never developed, because there were strong people that died penniless that preserved the land so it didn't get developed. We were fortunate enough to come along, pick it up, and preserve it for perpetuity. So, whether that's gonna influence on the law, I know it doesn't, but just for
So you-
consideration.
you're saying that there are some of this stuff outdated, essentially?
I think, until that section is changed, this board can't give you a permit for importation of material. That's the problem. And in fact, it even requires you, since those are individual parcels, it requires you to actually produce nitrogen on those parcels. And the double whammy sword on that is that you can't have more than 5 animal units on those parcels, because that went down at town meeting, if you recall. We had
Animal husbandry.
animal husbandry based on the amount of acreage, you got a tremendous amount of acreage. And that's what it was based on, and it went down, got shot down this past June for the 3rd time.
And we as the board, we spent hours,
It's been
weeks,
since January.
and the fact is, we had no support from anybody who was basically on the farms or anything else. We've asked for help and help. And the fact is, the board is just almost tired of doing all the work and nobody wants to turn around until the last minute, Charlie. And then after we spent all the time, months and everything else to it, and then it gets thrown out. I'm speaking my opinion.
So, I think you're right now between a rock and a hard place. Creative solutions.
Where does it say that? Creative solutions?
Yes, no, that was me.
Now, the other question to ask you, if something's coming from another farm, within town even, is he allowed to compost it? Question, Tad,
Yes, sir.
I said, for composting, does it have to come from that particular site, or can it come within town if it's another farm?
No, it has to be produced on the site, it says.
Inside.
I think the issue we're running into that too is that when the compost breaks down, the ratio is like we spoke about.
Yeah.
It starts, and it's so many yards, and then it's like 3 to 1 or something. I don't recall.
Well, I was referring to is on the equestrian side of composting.
That seems right.
That's where I was going at, within town. To turn on, add to the pile to create the heat or anything else, and it's not being imported as a marine product, as an agriculture product, or as a farm product. Think of that.
I mean, we need to make money somehow too, and we're not developing houses, so that's also.
No, I realize that,
what
what
it
I'm
comes
saying
down
is,
to.
right now,
Yeah,
others that turn around and were being
I understand.
charged, or they're paying to get rid of the materials from some of the horse farms,
Yep,
okay?
Huh?
That is actually some type of income,
sure,
okay?
yeah.
But that, guess what? There's more product. If you have more product, more for the fields
Yeah.
at the same time. That's where I was going at, that's what, but even within town or anything else.
Mhm.
Why don't we take
Can
this
you,
offline and let them come in and try to figure things out so that we don't have to, yeah, do this right now,
Okay.
and we'll do whatever we can to help you.
Including, um, including a sidewalk for more than 2 people?
Yes, and I'm more than happy to go. I mean, I was never gonna be here, I just had the wrong date. But, so we can, is that something we should formally schedule, another site walk, just so you can show us, or can we just make informally a date to go out and take a walk?
I think that's what, I mean, you know, the situation is that Mark can't do this project right now, the way our ordinance is written. The planning board can't give him a permit to do this.
Right, but you guys seem to have something up, you know, that you might be able to consider. I, you know, said something, and, you know, Marty's right too, that, you know, this board can't do all the heavy lifting by itself and keep showing up and not get
Because we
anything
keep getting
done.
beat up.
So why don't
Got
we,
burned out.
why don't we stop this conversation? Why don't you talk to council, talk to Tad, and let's see if there's something else we can do.
And you must have a lot of supporters in town, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was a public sidewalk, right?
Yeah. I
And-
mean, what I'm saying is that if the applicant has public supporters that can support the creation of a zone or a change in the zoning, then these forces should be mustered, and they should be asking the planning board or the selectmen to do something.
Well,
I
did we
think the
just
planning
have that situation?
Yeah.
You could go to the dump with an application that doesn't really say what it is that you're doing and get thousands of people to sign up for it during an indefinite period of time, and then you can come back and the town meeting can vote on it and you're home free.
Sure. Endorse that approach.
No, but you know what I'm saying, it works.
Actually, you could, I mean, if you could get, if you wanted to come up with a concept and start petitioning that be developed. I mean, no matter what, it has to be passed.
I think
at
for
town
him it's a timing issue, I think he's so busy with everything.
I
I
know.
mean, I can on my end try to support, and I have an email address and stuff, so if we can maybe have a conversation and I could be the go in between, we might get a little farther because he's up at 3 in the morning and doesn't stop till
meeting. Understood.
8 o'clock at night, so
Oh, it's past his bedtime.
it's, you know, it's hard to fit all these things in as much as we wanna like
Yeah.
be a part of it, and it's a timing issue. I'm
Oh,
very
yeah,
busy, he's very busy, but we wanna make it work, so anything that I can do, I mean, I can give you the email and we can talk about it, or I'm not sure.
I think that's important, but I think it's also building support in the community that'll come out in favor of this, because as Marty says, we've done this 3 times.
Yeah.
Twice.
3.
Yeah,
Was it 3?
3.
We've come at this 3 times, and
Yeah.
we've gotten, it's been shot down for, actually, in 2 cases for misinformation
yeah,
that is out there. And maybe that's because the planning board doesn't really sell things, because that's not really their job to sell ideas.
yes,
Not,
understood,
not from a political standpoint.
understood,
Yeah, so that's where we
Yep.
didn't muster our forces. And
Yeah, I
that's
understand.
something we can't do, but that's something you can do.
yeah. So Susan, you're saying like essentially like get a petition as far as what we're trying to do and get signatures in
And
terms
to
of-
change, if you can, change the ordinance.
Okay,
So it's gonna take a little bit of,
yep,
you know,
Yeah.
rabble rousing of your friends and getting people out there to get this petition. I don't know how many you need, and you can go to the town hall and they'll tell you what you need.
But what you need is you need to have the actual language prepared.
Right.
That's right,
It
and
has to be
that's
the exact language. Rick knows that, right, Rick?
Oh, yes, all
Yeah.
too well, all
Yes.
too well.
Yeah,
Now,
that's too.
here's another thing. If you want it for the next town vote, you have to have public hearings and everything else along this way, okay?
process.
Process.
It is process.
But this all has to be done by March.
Well, it can be
By the
done before
petition,
March.
if you wanted to get it onto the June meeting.
I mean, you can
This
do
is
it.
where I'm trying to give
It's
you
just,
insight, and it doesn't sound like, you know, it's a lot of time, but actually, it can be done if you get your local supporters, because we've had different ordinance changes done by petition along the way.
So what are we asking for?
That's
To
what I'm
spread-
saying, you
to
just,
to do compost?
no, well,
You'll have to
you
craft,
have to turn around,
you'll have to craft the language of what it is you're asking for, and you probably need help to do that. That's not, you know, maybe Tad can help you, and maybe council can help you, but, so I think what we need to do, and I hate to stop you, Marty,
no,
but
I agree with you.
I think we need to stop the conversation at this point. We're here to help you if we can. So maybe it's take it to the town, get a petition going, help, get professional help crafting exactly what you want this to say, and figure out the best way to make this happen.
And be simple on it. Don't be like, with the $50 and $100 words. Make it simple so that anybody can read it and understand it.
Why are you looking at me?
Because I don't like the $50 and $100 words all the time.
I like the 50, 100, I like the 150. So I hope that helps.
Thanks for your consideration.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So,
Why don't you do a call?
new applications. Ta-da,
We have what?
this is it.
Is it?
He's the caboose.
Tail end.
You leave?
Is there more meetings?
Yeah. He's not sitting here for fun. He's not waiting for a
Okay,
bus.
new applications. Cape Arundel Cottage Preserve, major conditional use application, determination of completeness. Proposal to expand facilities at the Cape Arundel Community Center, including an additional swimming pool on a 300+ acre parcel, tax map 15, lot 13 in the B1 district. Arundel Kennebunk Cottage Preserve LLC is the owner, and the applicant is Rick Light of Light Environmental Design LLC. Oh, so the owner and the applicant, where am I going wrong here with the syntax?
Is that
Korea.
crafted right? The owner applicant is Arundel Kennebunk Cottage Preserve LLC.
Right, and.
Arundel Kennebunk Cottage Preserve
Yeah.
LLC is the owner and the
And
applicant.
applicant.
And Rick Light of Light Environmental,
The agent.
okay, now it's been a long day.
Yes,
Light
I read that
Environmental
twice
Design LLC is the applicant's agent. Okay, you're on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess we all are, I don't know how many people were on the.
We were all, everybody
We were
was
all
there on the
there.
site.
Great, good. I hope
Except
if
me.
you have any questions.
Yeah, but you didn't come.
I couldn't make it, unfortunately. I had a family obligation, but I heard Joe treated you well and
He did.
got to see the facility, so, if you have any questions, you can certainly ask me. So what we're proposing here is again, an amendment to the plan, which simply adds this pool facility. Again, here's the existing, community center that you saw, and the existing pool's about here, that little waterfall's right here. We're simply adding an additional pool, pool deck area with a trellis, and there'll be a small pool house. And that big ledge outcrop that you probably saw just in the grass area there.
You're staying.
That's staying, we have to clean that off, that's staying, these are all staying, these two ledges now. Put a fire pit in here, this shows one, I apologize, this is my older version, but 2 bocce courts, we may just build one, but we're asking for 2 bocce courts, so you can have a tournament, 2 horseshoe pits, and then this grass, this big grass driveway to get back to the pond, 10-foot wide grass, gravel, like we've done out front, just, grass, so it doesn't look like grass, but you can drive a car on it. And this sort of demonstrates that, we had agreed originally that we would have parking, we already created parking along the edge here. It's grass, but it's actually grass with a structural gravel. And this shows that, we could actually probably get a few more cars in here, like for an event or something like that, informally. And this is the utility building you saw, and these are sort of represent the wastewater fields, wastewater tankage in the fields out here. And this is the pond that was out back. So, and this right here would require a little bit of cutting of the woods. The woods line's about right here now to put a fill slope in for this extended, we're basically pushing the slope out here. That's the only change in terms of, environmentally or physically on the site from before you saw. That's pretty much it. And so this would require an amendment to, again, as the earlier application amendment to the subdivision, conditional use approval. And then at this point, we have met with the DEP, anything we do on site, just for edification, is when we do each phase of the project, like we're into phase 4, starting 4B, we have to go to the DEP under our DEP permit to do a stormwater review. That we have a permit for the overall project, but one of the conditions is that we go in on each phase, give them the detailed, the upgraded engineering plans, and they review it for stormwater only. And there's a financial capacity component, but it's essentially a stormwater review. This, we've done our calculations, it's about 11,000 square feet plus that little walkway there. We have met with the DEP last week to do a pre-app meeting, and we are pretty confident when we run our numbers that we have the capacity in that pond to meet the DEP chapter 500 standards without having to do anything additional. So our expectation is from the, what we call the treatment, the quality treatment, and from the volume that the pond stores, is that we're gonna run our numbers, that we'll go to the DEP with a very minor amendment, just saying, hey, we're putting this in, our pond already meets the requirements, we don't need to do any additional stormwater work, we're good to go. So we'll be filing that next week, the same time we file with you for final on this. So we would request, if the board, I assume you're probably gonna schedule a public hearing, when it comes time, that if the board is comfortable, they simply, the DEP takes a while. Even if it's a minor amendment, it could take months. So that if we get to a point of, in the next meeting with any luck and approval, that the board would be comfortable conditioning it upon DEP amendment. That's just a standard process. So that's pretty much it. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Do you have the paperwork to show that you presented this already to DEP about the new pool?
It's just a I can.
No, I'm just saying,
Oh.
ask it. I mean,
Yep. We've
I
done
mean, that way-
what they call a pre-app meeting.
Yeah.
That's how
and out there, remember when we were there, did you say there was gonna be another place for the new pool? You're gonna have a maintenance for the,
For the pool?
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be a little through the chair.
I mean, it's like, your filtering systems and all that,
Yeah.
that's what I'm going at.
Be the same side, and this plan doesn't show it.
I remember we seen it over there, I mean, but I'm
It'd be
just
the
saying.
same type of building here, I think Joe's probably gonna veneer it in stone as well, but we'll be putting, it's the same size, it's same.
Because I know
style
when he
equipment.
went farther up, he was showing us where the telecommunication buildings were and
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
Up along that way.
And those are 12 by 14, I think this is roughly
I'm
the
just-
same size.
I'm not asking for specific yet, but I'm just saying,
It will be there, yeah, on that side of the pool, yeah, definitely. Then we'll run our utilities from there.
So Tad, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
Okay.
Rick, where are we gonna put the parking?
What parking?
The overflow parking. You
There
had
is-
some you had some parking last time when you did your.
Right, well, that's what we're proposing here, the chairs, is to use, this areas here that demonstrates where you get about 15 spaces out here for overflow.
are you talking cars or go-karts?
This is cars, so you get a lot more golf carts, but just for vehicles, this is a grass surface, we could get about 15 spaces plus or minus in that area. But again, this doesn't increase, to be clear, this just, because we're adding a pool, does not increase the traffic at all. It's a component within the approved resort, it's just like adding a tennis court doesn't increase the
Right.
usage.
But if you remember when we first did the community center, one of the things the board had a concern was, is that in inclement weather, we would need parking
Right.
for people who don't wanna ride a golf court to an event at the community center, and so we needed some parking. We were talking about this area having some
Right,
parking.
we were, and so I suppose this this court probably takes up some of that area, and here
Yeah.
you're getting towards the rocks. But the reality is, and you mentioned the sketch plan, is that we have that large, did you see the parking area out front by the sales office to the left? It's a beautiful lawn, that's actually a parking area.
Right.
And we have the visitors area, we have that parking area for overflow, and the events that happen here are, the big event of the year would be the annual meeting. And they have it, most of the people here, but people aren't, they come, they drive. And so they can manage that by saying, parking only like out front, and then they'll shuttle you with a golf cart. And they can work out systems to do that. So that's an internally managed deal. The other thing is, if you send some of the marketing events on the access road coming in, there was one marketing event, I remember, I think at the, what's the fall, came on, not the Prelude, but the other one, anyway. There was parking up and down the main access road, which is commercially designed. If you, one of the flavors of the project is, if you drive in, you've got this massively wide commercial road for kind of what's a residential development. That was through the planning board approval process where, and Roger may remember, and Marty, where there's an expectation that there would be a right-hand lane going into the commercial lot, and that drove the width of that whole business. So you can easily park semi-trailers up and down both sides of that and still have room for 3 or 4 fire trucks. It's just, so that's a great opportunity for parking for events, and they've used it for that exact purpose, while still leaving plenty of avenues. So we don't really see a need. We talked about having this additional area here for parking. We're cutting into that a little bit. Honestly, we just don't see a need for that, when we're trying to get a pedestrian-oriented, and there's, community, and they've got the ability to shuffle and deal and manage large events.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because that map's different than my map.
Yeah, this is the earlier concept, I didn't update it.
This one shows no parking, that's why I was asking.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we discuss this as an HOA issue? If they have problems with parking, that it's really because it's a self-contained community with an HOA, that it's their headache and that it's not our headache?
Well, that, I only responded to what the board had told me to do earlier, that was before you were here.
Before me.
Yeah.
Ah.
Make sure that we had that parking when they eliminated basically converted the Founder's Way parking lot into a golf cart. That's what it is. Now, if that's not a problem for the board, then
We could
I'll be
designate,
very
I
quiet.
apologize, on that plan, this is an earlier version, I didn't actually render the new one.
Right.
We could designate that area there as parking, parking on the actual plan.
Well, it's gonna be tough with horseshoe pits
Yeah, I mean, I think
just
it's
for-
the horseshoes
really
are
an
just bounce up
HOA
cars.
issue.
It's for events,
That's my
so
feeling
you wouldn't
anyway.
need it for an
No,
event like that.
but I have one good question for you. Okay, hypothetically, crystal ball, okay? You own a unit, or vice versa, and you have company, not in a car, but they come up with their camper. Where do you have excess overflow in case, I'm not talking the 50, 60-foot camper.
But like a tow behind or a scamper.
No, I'm talking about the drive-on, the motorhome.
So like a small one, like a
Yeah.
Class C, we call
Well,
it.
but,
Class C.
because they aren't gonna fit in the driveway.
Yep.
Because the driveways are all too small, or anything else, and even with the small tow behinds, they're still usually dragging a car with them and everything else. Is there any place now or in the future to put overflow parking like that?
The
I'm
answer,
just,
no, the answer, to the chair, the answer is no, but it's a real good question. A lot of the residents have come to Joe saying, I have an RV, or whatever, it's not permitted within the condo documents. And so honestly, if we had a flat space on site, we've talked about it, that to put RVs and fence it off, you have to have security, and we would come, we can't find a spot to do it that would be reasonable, that would be so far out that it would be unsafe. We just don't have the space.
no, I'm just thinking
The answer is
overall,
no,
I mean,
you can't bring those in.
I mean,
So it's
you know
an
how you were
HOA
saying the main lane was so wide
Yep.
for overflow, but it actually is before the gated area.
Once you're in the gated area, there's no, you
Yeah,
can't
but
bring
that
an
would
RV.
completely,
Oh.
ruin the whole visual effect of what you get when you drive in there. But Marty, really, that's, if for them, for the HOA, if it's not in their CCNRs,
Well,
And
now
they-
I understand that,
yeah.
but we weren't told that ever before.
I believe it's specifically prohibited, and I can, we'll confirm that.
and I can understand why.
Yeah, they're very strict in terms of those sorts of things. But the conversation has, good point, to Marty's point, the conversation has come up, as you evolve with a project, things happen, and you have to respond to some of the residents' needs, and this is what Joe does. So all of a sudden, other residents, want pink flamingos in their front lawn, what are you gonna do, but that's a real issue, that people do wanna do something with their RVs, and Joe has to say, I'm sorry.
Well, we're
Yeah,
gonna
and I
have a
think
trailer
you-
truck
you
load
know,
of
I
pink
think
flamingos.
that's
Yep.
reasonable, so,
Yeah,
yeah, so.
but very good question.
Could I
Especially in a project like that at that level.
Can
I'm
I ask
sorry.
a question? What's happening with the commercial pads? Is there any, is it
The commercial
the
pads.
commercial pad to the right that was, I heard that there was
The
gonna be
9 acre
maybe a
lot?
store, a restaurant.
We'd love
No
to.
town.
Yeah.
It's not this one.
Actually,
We
I
would
just had
love
a-
for it to be, I heard Joe would love to, for it to be a store, so if you know anyone who's interested, they've had some bites and nibbles on it, but nothing is sold yet, but, you know, we'd love to develop that lot. This is the 9 acre lot,
Up front.
right up here in white. It's actually 9.1 or 9.3 acres. It's where the gravel pile is right now. If anyone knows of anyone, Joe's, I mean, the idea and intent is to develop that lot in sort of in concert
With
with,
some kind of retail that benefits the community.
yeah, or wellness, or, you know, it'd be great to have
Other
a
anchor,
mixed use.
whatever anchor.
An anchor would
Lodging
be
would
great.
be good.
And we have septic capacity, some septic capacity on that lot, and we put a force main in, a dry force main that comes back into here, and they would have their own, you know, it's designed for them to have their own field of X number of gallons type of thing.
Yeah, that's an
So the
interesting.
infrastructure is there, so if you know of anyone who's
Interesting.
interested, Joe would be more than happy to show them around.
I have one other little thing, Rick. Your gate into the pool, we're gonna need a gate from the, maintenance emergency access into the pool area.
Yes, on by that drive, yes, you're absolutely right, yes, and
Yeah,
we'll be
'cause
providing that.
Our guys can't get in there.
Yeah, and what we'll probably do is shorten, excuse me here. We're gonna shorten this walk, I think, on the plan and end it right here. There's no need to go all the way down the access road. So there'll be a gate here and then an emergency, a full gate somewhere along here for the emergency vehicles.
Okay. All right, good, thanks.
Beautiful project. Okay, so,
Just
Uh,
curious, may I ask you a question?
yes, of course.
Turn on, just for giggles, you have the one pool area now, okay? Does it within house, do you have like lifeguards? Or is it self-contained?
I think it's self-contained. They're not required under the law to have lifeguards if you swim at your own risk.
I'm just,
Yeah, they don't have formal
How
lifeguards.
deep are the pools anyway?
It's 6 feet
Oh,
max.
so they're pretty deep.
Yeah, 6
It
feet at
has a
one
deep
end.
end?
Deep end is 6, no diving. I
Okay.
believe it's 6. The new one, I think, is the same depth.
Salt water?
These are fresh.
Hmm.
Okay, salt water.
I have a lap pool, good idea.
Yeah, it's a great
For
idea.
adults, as long as the kids stay out of it.
And actually, this plan, I think, shows the lap, it's been shipped, it will be on.
yeah,
this.
yeah, for laps,
That's an older version.
yeah.
Yeah, great pool.
So we wanna schedule a public hearing?
We do. Can I have a motion to schedule a public hearing?
ASAP,
For the 7th,
7?
I hope? We have
Okay.
another public hearing and
So
another,
let's go down these public hearings. I've got this one this is gonna be for, CACP.
we have
okay?
Raymond Acres,
We got
Raymond, I wanna say Acres, but Raymond.
Raymond, and then we've got, Oak Ridge.
We have
Oak Ridge first,
Mhm.
Raymond second,
CACP.
and
And now,
now, is there anything else does he have to submit? And you have all your paperwork?
Yeah.
Okay, because the way Susan was saying,
If
if
you
you have
folks
until
are happy with
Monday,
that
until
design,
Monday to
that's gonna be
become,
the record, or are you gonna change it?
right, you have to pay for
Which
that.
design?
yeah,
The one I had.
For the
The
pool, the
latest
pool
one.
facility?
Yeah.
Other than adding a note, maybe it could be a condition, rather than redoing the plan, add a note on the plan, or as a conditional approval, that we add
The
a
gate.
full
Okay.
gate, rather than changing the plan now and do it for construction. That would be an easier way, than rather than resubmitting all the paperwork for one gate.
Yeah, make sure it gets some of the total right, because the numbers aren't right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Good
did we
report?
vote on the
we
public
did,
hearing?
yeah.
You have to vote on the completeness of the application and then schedule a public hearing.
Okay, I need a motion that we deem the application complete,
Yeah,
I will so move, subject to the addition of that condition regarding the gate.
okay?
I'll second it,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye,
That's unanimous. And I need a motion to schedule a public hearing for
so
number,
moved.
November seventh.
Raj, go ahead.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. You're on the schedule.
Thank you very much, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right.
Any other business?
Yeah, you need to sign this
Where?
Mylar.
I'd like to walk out.
Do you have any
Where's the other little Mylar?
questions for us?
I think we,
Okay.
Is this one here?
here's the little blue thing.
Anybody see the little plastic, the little ones? Ah,
Yep,
goodness.
they're up top there.
Then the wrong kinds of.
We've signed these, have we not?
I thought we
Okay.
signed those.
Some of us
Did you
did.
all sign them?
I believe
did.
so, there's only 4 of us.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I think we have.
1, 2, 3, 4, okay. All right, and then this was this. Oh, we don't have a signature, here we go, a signature, right there. Approve by
Yeah,
town.
do we need a, Sharpie?
Yep.
While we're doing this, do you have any other info
Thank you.
for us?
Thank you, sir.
As in,
Other business?
Is Vandalupe ever gonna get done? I feel so badly for them.
I can't tell you, I've approved the lighting revisions, but I will tell you that Motorland asked for a revision on the plan.
that might surprise.
Well, they asked for a revision, they asked to do substitution on the trees.
For
Okay.
what?
They said they didn't want to put in trees, I said, you're putting trees. They want to substitute the ginkgos for Armstrong maples. You remember what I felt about the ginkgos?
I don't like ginkgos at all.
Ginkgos.
It's consistent, you wanna
And,
stop.
Yeah.
they stuck with it
Yes.
all right. They said, we want to get rid of the ginkgos and put in Armstrong. And I said, Sandra said, Ted, we need to dig today, do I dig or not dig? I said, dig and plant. Armstrong, do it now. Did you put it in? Which was fun.
Putting in?
Maples?
Yeah, it's a Fastigan or a somewhat columnar, red maple, rather hardy. Not so great with salt as ginkgos, but,
What are ginkgos look like?
They're very
They're-
unattractive.
they're a very ancient tree, have a very simple leaf, cereal leaf, it's like a half fan. It's a favorite tree of Jeff Tarling in Portland, which explains why I love Portland. They look, at a young age, they look like broomsticks with other broomsticks on them.
Did you ever
Very
read,
loose,
do you have
very
children,
minute.
Jens?
They
Do you
fill
have
out very
children?
nice.
Sure.
Okay, so, do you ever read Shel Silverstein's The Giving Tree?
No.
Some of his stuff?
tree, yeah.
Yeah,
only two
yeah,
here.
he has
For the
ginkgos.
So I
Oh,
thought,
they're great.
Well, I you know, I know Jeff, we're working on a very sensitive
Okay.
project,
your,
the old,
your,
next to back to Woods, the
Tree
mother house
trimming?
project.
you're trimming on them.
Every tree they look at over there is historically
His
significant.
name is, he did
But
all the trimming, he
One
went
of my
around my
good buddies,
entire
Mike
property.
Cormier, who's.
Thank God he
Well,
did,
they-
because he took down a
Yeah,
lot of stuff
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
so
gonna
Mike, I
fall.
think
I'm
we find
being
supported
silly.
state him and
Well,
North
there's
Stockton,
one
like
there,
the two
That's
best
it.
horticulturists
And
in the
there's
state
one
of
there.
Maine.
He was
There was
terrific.
trees.
So work with Jeff, he knows Jeff very well,
Uh,
so when we got Mike out there a couple times.
Are we on this good? I have a kid at
Yeah, I read the,
sick and
you
completely
know,
like to
the
go.
audio.
Please.
Are you all right?
I'm fine. I'm also pregnant, so I'm a little hormonal. I have a kid that's sick. Can we wrap this shit up, please?
Yeah, let's do it.
motion to go.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, all those in favor? Aye.
Poor gal goes.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, I
It's
didn't
like,
know.
guys, come on.
No, I'm with you.
We're done.
You
Go
want me
home
to send this
now.
to you?
Turn the camera
Yeah,
off.
that'd be great.
It's
Thank
10,
you. I
it's
think I'm in your
9:50.
phone, right?
You are?
Please, well, so-
We'll do it.